They called him the Nuclear Saint, the man who erased demon kings like dust. But the only thing stronger than his power was the betrayal that killed him. Now, he's back in a kid's body, 5 elements raging inside. This time, he's not just saving the world, he's hunting the gods behind it. And this is where that path of revenge truly begins. The story opened up with Bai Yi, who was once an L-class saint everyone used to dread, now rebooted into the life of a bottom-tier student everyone treated like a joke for flunking his rank. But tucked away inside that so-called useless body, the unreal force of all 5 elements had already started to stir. That world had churned out a mess of demonic caves and demons ever since magic became a thing. And with it, people started waking up to weird powers, the kind that turned them into awakened. At the top of all that, there stood the Divine Core, known as the strongest awakened squad around. That year marked Bai Yi's 10th one, running the whole squad. Their job was to sweep through demonic caves for the highest authority out there, the one they called God. He addressed the Divine Core and kicked off the operation. That cave marked their 100th high-level target, and Ling Yue, their L-class lightning assassin, gave her nod to the briefing. The mission carried an L-class purge classification, which basically meant maximum threat, 0 room for error. Han Xiaoling, the L-class cloud mage, threw down Glacier World to clear the way. With the path set, Bai Yi burst through. He moved fast enough to leave afterimages and cut down every demon that tried to block him. Once they wrapped that up, a short vacation would be waiting. Lucian, their L-class stellar conductor, activated Stellar Descent, gravity pull. That amped Bai Yi's power by 200% and his speed by 100%. Then the gravity around them spiked to 100 times normal. He lit up like a star going supernova as he launched straight at the Demon King Belphegor. Then he rammed his sword right into the thing. He didn't flinch, he just stood there, calm, glowing gold, letting the explosion ripple outward. That was the kind of power an L-class nuclear saint packed. The system then pinged them with confirmation that Demon King Belphegor had been eliminated. Han Xiaoling tossed out a complaint that it ended way too fast and ruined the fun, and Ling Yue casually promised to dig up some demon caves for him to mess with next time. Lucian pointed out that the mission was top tier and needed the whole squad in, no exception. He floated the idea that maybe it all felt too easy. Bai Yi agreed, mentioning that intel flagged Belphegor as a special variant with 5 elements and some kind of hidden skill. That's when Ling Yue turned to him. She brought up the vacation again and asked if he was buying dinner for everyone or planning something cozier with just the 2 of them. He cleared his throat and went with the usual group plan at their go-to spot in the holy capital. She cursed about another ambush flopping, while Han Xiaoling tossed in that Bai Yi clearly had no clue how women work. Then something clicked for Bai Yi. Someone was missing. He checked with the others, asking if the guy never tagged along, and as Lucian pointed out, he hadn't even joined the Belphegor fight. Bai Yi decided he'd go handle the cleanup. Ling Yue threw in that he was always dragging behind, and Bai Yi silently agreed, while Han Xiaoling joked that slacking off was kind of his whole deal. Then the guy strolled in. He snapped his fingers. He announced the real purge operation had started. He twirled his index finger up through the air. Something slammed into the back of Han Xiaoling's head and punched through the front. Bai Yi locked up. Ling Yue froze in horror. Lucian just stood there, stunned. All of them called out to Han Xiaoling. The guy casually dropped that this had been his true mission from God all along. Bai Yi tried to move and realized he couldn't. The guy explained that their breakfasts over the last month had been spiked with paralytic powder. The ground split open as massive vines burst out. He activated his divine skill flower, Forbidden Vines. He mentioned that taking out the strongest meant setting the stage with absolute prep. Bai Yi snapped at him, asking what the hell was wrong with him, and if he'd completely lost it, while Ling Yue pressed him on what the hell he was doing. The guy called it God's Decree, the L-class purge operation, which apparently translated to wiping them out. Bai Yi called out for Ling Yue and Lucian while they got crushed under the vines. Meanwhile, 2 vines crept in from behind and aimed for him. Shock hit him the moment they pierced through his back. His fury boiled up fast. He caught the moment Ling Yue died. His whole team had been wiped off the map. He pressed the guy for an explanation. He wanted to know why anyone would go after them when the Divine Core had never crossed a single line. He demanded to know which god had handed down that order and who gave them the right. He refused to let it go and pressed harder on what gave them any right at all. The guy climbed to his feet. He referred to Bai Yi as an old friend. and tossed in how naive he still was. He moved so fast, the only thing left behind was a blur of motion. His hand punched straight through Bai Yi's torso. He would challenged whether God even needed a reason while killing him. His hand stayed lodged inside Bai Yi's body, drenched in blood. Bai Yi fired back, wanting to know if they weren't comrades, practically family after 10 years together. The guy mocked the idea of family and asked if he still hadn't figured out why he was picked. He said God had been shifting pieces since their first meeting. They were all just pawns in some long-running game. Bai Yi dropped to the ground and started coughing up blood. The guy mentioned how he'd been playing the part for years just to gain their trust. The act disgusted him too. He smashed Bai Yi across the head to end it. He declared that on May 22nd, 2125, every member had been confirmed dead, officially closing the L-class purge operation. He figured it was finally time for a vacation. Bai Yi's eyes stayed wide open. Blood streaked across his forehead. His body kept trembling from the pain. Suddenly, Belphegor chimed in and offered a deal. Bai Yi wanted to know where he was. He found himself chained in pitch-black darkness, scanning the space around him. Belphegor popped in with a greeting and tossed out a compliment about his looks. Bai Yi recoiled in horror. He demanded to know if this was really Belphegor and if he was still alive. And Belphegor confirmed it by tossing out that an SSS-class Demon King didn't go down so easily. This was his soul domain, and the Nye Kingdom fed into his very being. But enough chatter. He figured it was time to get to business, since their hatred seemed to be perfectly aligned. He threw out an offer, explaining that his hidden skill was life regression. He could send Bai Yi back to the distant past and give him a shot to rewrite it all. He asked if he was interested. Bai Yi wavered, but then Ling Yue came to mind. Pain took hold. Han Xiaoling's face followed. The pain sharpened into rage. Lucian flashed next, and the entire memory of his squad being together. His fury surged. The guy's twisted grin replayed in his head from the moment he finished him off. Han Xiaoling's head blowing apart hit again. He saw Ling Yue and Lucian getting crushed under those vines once more. He declared that he'd kill him. He would bring down those so-called gods sitting in their high seats. Belphegor grinned. He said that was perfect, and exactly the answer he'd been waiting for. So he tossed in one more gift. He said to think of it as a welcome present. Bai Yi then questioned why he was chosen for this deal and what price came with it. Belphegor responded with nothing but a chuckle. All of a sudden, Teacher Huang's voice broke through, calling Bai Yi's name again and urging him to wake up. She told him to get on his feet because it was the year 2105, and he was currently in Holy He Nation's Protectorate State J, Awakened Academy Middle School Division. He realized he had actually come back. He stared at his small hands. He asked if this was before his awakening. Teacher Huang mentioned that snoozing through regular classes was whatever. But if Bai Yi dared to drift off before his awakening ceremony, he could go plant himself in the back. He froze the second he realized she was standing there. For a second, he seriously believed he had landed right back in his middle school timeline. Turns out, he really had been reborn, and he started eyeing Belphegor's ability as the likely culprit. None of it felt real. The whole thing hit different, especially since he hadn't seen those classmates in almost 20 years. Teacher Huang waved off the moment and told them to keep going with the lesson, everyone back on track. In that world, the core elements boiled down to 5: lightning, flower, cloud, nuclear, and stellar. And every person only ever bonded with one. She summoned her element in her hand to keep the focus tight. As a demonstration, she showed off her own element, saying she had the rare cloud affinity. Depending on how an element binds to the body, they grouped them into 3 types: combat, support, and special. And mixing all that across 5 elements led to a whole buffet of professions. Their school's top-tier guild was made up of a stellar mage, cloud warrior, nuclear bard, and lightning assassin. She figured they already understood that those elites had been freakishly gifted since forever, with talent that got them praise before they could even spell it, right in their prime. But today was their real turning point, because the world knew of almost 100 awakened professions. They got ranked from the bottom up: Dust, Ember, Abyss, and Celestial. Nobody got a redo on their first awakening. That afternoon would decide everything. It would straight up lock in their future social standing. Not long after, Bai Yi found himself caught in a wave of deja vu. This place was where it all started for him. Right then, he spotted 4 eyes face planted on the ground beside him. Hongchan gave a sharp click of the tongue. He ran his mouth about how lame it was to rely on artificial awakening like some helpless newbie, still in his way, acting smug just because he was about to awaken. Hongchan, E-rank stellar assassin with mystery stats and attitude to spare, made it clear that rare red-tier awakeners didn't waste breath on insects. Bai Yi pegged him as the usual schoolyard menace. Even back in the previous life, the guy picked fights like he had a quota, like he was built from whatever genes churned out old-school action movie alphas, always amped to stir chaos. Then Teacher Huang cut in, telling Hongchan to drop the act. This was a school, not some back-alley shakedown, but he brushed her off like she barely registered. He tossed the blame back on Four Eyes for getting in their way, then pushed for bubble tea as payback for his crew, acting like that was a normal thing to demand. He lowered his voice and slipped in a smug jab, asking if she was trying to play hero, and mentioned how if she wasn't sort of hot, she'd have been out of a job ages ago. Teacher Huang checked in with Four Eyes to see if he was alright, while Hongchan let out a smug laugh and told his gang they should bounce, just to be polite for now. That's when he noticed Bai Yi standing in his path, not flinching under his stare. Hongchan didn't like that one bit and asked what he was looking at. He told him to get lost, said they'd come back later and clown on the weaklings then. Four Eyes apologized to Teacher Huang and took the blame, but she told him it wasn't on him. Bai Yi kept in mind that she always acted tough, but underneath all that, she had his back more times than he could count after he awakened. Suddenly, another teacher flagged her, telling her it was her class's turn for the awakening chamber. She reminded everyone to keep calm in there, or the backlash could hurt. Bai Yi ran through what he knew. There were two paths to awakening in this world. The first was natural awakening, something that happened in folks with strong bodies and rare potential, usually triggered by extreme emotional overload. The second relied on the awakening chamber, a high-tech marvel cranked out by some of the brightest minds. Inside it, the body and mind got hit with simulated emotional overload to spark potential. One student emerged from the chamber and got word he'd become a school mystic mage. He had blue-tier ember status, and Teacher Huang told him to go rest up, since it probably drained him. Meanwhile, Bai Yi kept circling the idea that a single awakening meant everything. It was life's only do-over button. Then Teacher Huang called him up, told him it was his turn. She told him to dial in and warned there'd be no dozing off like in class. Asked if he got that. He gave her a sharp nod. He remembered that in his last life, his awakening gave him an E-rank nuclear warrior role, Dust Tier, and that title followed him around like a curse. Only after reaching S-rank did he finally unlock something rare. He figured he still had the nuclear element, so now the big question was what profession it would trigger. His nerves coiled tight, his chest thudded with a heartbeat that felt way too loud. Then the system glitched. It flagged an error in his awakening, detected 5 elements. He tried to make sense of it and wondered what that rising heat inside him meant. The system followed up and reported activation of the Infinite Awakening System. The system pinged Bai Yi with a message saying that since he had 5 elemental types in his body, he could pick any class tied to those elements for his initial class. Later on, once any one of those elements built up enough energy, he'd get the chance to either unlock a new random class tied to that element or level up the one he already had. He ran a check on what elemental accumulation actually meant. That made him wonder if this meant he wasn't stuck with only one class from the start, that maybe he could rack up even more new ones later on. He could tap into Dust Rank, Glimmer Rank, Abyss Rank, and Celestial Rank, every quality tier, even the oddball special quality one. The system confirmed he'd guessed it, though it added a catch. Only the first class was his to choose. The rest would be handed out at random. That pulled up the moment Belphegor had offered to give him one last push. Turned out, that push was exactly this, the ability to awaken infinitely. The system gave him one last heads up that, after locking in his first class, all the elemental meters would be reset. So, yeah, pick carefully. Back outside, one student piped up about why Bai Yi was taking forever in there. Another chimed in saying he was finally out. Teacher Huang stepped up and asked which class he ended up awakening as. Bai Yi gave a quick apology and said he'd probably let her down. He awakened as a nuclear warrior, stuck with green quality, bottom of the barrel. She took that in and gave a nod. Still, she told him not to sweat it too much. Lots of amazing people started in green quality, so he shouldn't lose hope since that world wouldn't betray him. He told her there was no need for the pep talk, but she pointed out that he had to be feeling miserable. She suggested he get some rest and checked if he was feeling drained from the awakening. Then Hongchan burst into laughter, and cracked that this was comedy gold. Hard work would change everything, huh? Since the world wouldn't let anyone down. Bai Yi remembered thinking that Teacher Huang was usually sharp, so how could she spew such shallow nonsense? She knew better. The truth didn't care. Dust rank meant bottom feeder, no matter what. That's just how things worked, with gods choosing favorites and the rest left behind for ridicule. Hearing gods brought into it pushed Bai Yi's temper past the edge. Teacher Huang demanded to know what Hongchan was doing there again, and he fired back that of course he was right, and she knew it too. That dust ranks would only get seats in the back row from now on. He challenged them to explain why that was surprising. He pinned it on the system itself, where anyone without power, clout, or promise was automatically tossed aside. The strong got the perks, kept rising, and from the second a dust rank awakened, they were stuck at the bottom, fetching things for everyone else. He pressed her on what her talk about changing fates even meant, acting like a dust rank could ever be called a genius, and asked if she even believed her own words. He laid it out cold, saying a person's fate got stamped at birth and the Awakened Academy was just that same truth in miniature. He pushed again, daring her to deny it, then threw in that she was only glimmer rank herself, so her destiny was locked into being a harmless little employee stuck at school. As for dust ranks, he said they might as well head home early and stop wasting government funds. Suddenly, Bai Yi clutched the bottom of his cup. He crushed it tight, and the liquid burst right back onto his own face. Hongchan got hit full on, dripping from hair to collar. He spat curses and demanded to know what Bai Yi was trying to pull. Bai Yi brushed him off, claiming he didn't enjoy hearing his voice. Hongchan scoffed and tossed another insult his way. He unleashed a surge of energy, charging straight at him with a wide swing. Teacher Huang groaned internally as he triggered Starthorn Strike, one of those flashy beginner-level moves from the Astro Assassin skill tree that bumps up power. Hongchan threw out a line about Bai Yi asking for it, but Bai Yi didn't even blink, already drawing his sword with total ease. He activated his skill, Block. Hongchan jerked back, rattled by the clash. His body froze when Bai Yi's force actually pushed him back. Bai Yi followed up with parry. His face didn't move an inch, all calm as his blade sliced forward. He knocked Hongchan off his feet and slammed him into the dirt. People in the area closed in, circling as Hongchan hit the ground hard. He hacked up blood, his expression twisted in disbelief. He locked eyes with Bai Yi, who hadn't taken a scratch, and looked completely relaxed with his sword lowered. Nothing made sense. Someone nearby muttered about what just happened, while another one stared and asked how. Bai Yi rested the sword against his shoulder. He mentioned he picked that class himself, a nuclear warrior setup that comes packaged with a light sword buffing attack and evasion by 20%. He added that it just felt familiar. Hongchan forced a dry laugh and brushed it off as a fluke dodge. He reminded everyone that he was a rare abyss rank, nothing like the garbage standing across from him. But Teacher Huang had her doubts, quietly calling that nonsense. What she saw wasn't a lucky move. That was parry, an elite maneuver locked behind the warrior class. Pulling it off meant intercepting an attack during the briefest instant of contact, and within an almost impossible 0.09 second reaction window, rebounding all physical force right back. Perfectly timed, the move could erase 100% of the incoming hit, and on a second trigger inside the same frame, send the entire damage output back. Her own teacher had trained 10 years and never fully landed it. She couldn't figure out how someone fresh out of awakening, with zero experience, just did it cold. Meanwhile, Hongchan snarled and called him out, whipping out a bayonet with a hefty 30% boost to power and speed. He promised to grind Bai Yi into the floor and make him crawl in front of the crowd. Bai Yi knew full well why he picked that class, no matter how pathetic it looked on paper. Everyone around him had been sizing up lives and fates from the moment of birth, and they were all walking straight into a mistake so massive they wouldn't understand it until years later. One of the students leaned over with a wary glance, wondering if a fight was about to break out. Another leaned in quieter, reminding everyone that using awakened powers for personal squabbles was strictly against school rules, while someone else pointed out the obvious. Way too many people were watching. A third one jumped in, bringing up how Hongchan's father held serious political weight, and his uncle ran the school, while Bai Yi's background was a total blank slate with zero pull. Four Eyes muttered that if Bai Yi took the bait and swung back, he'd be packing his bags, then turned to Teacher Huang, trying to figure out what they were supposed to do. She frowned. She brought up how they'd all just awakened that same day and could end up as teammates down the line, so blowing up now would be flat out stupid. But Hongchan scoffed, tossing it back at her with a jab about whether she was joking and if she seriously wanted him to let that piece of trash mouth off in front of a crowd. He spat out that even if Bai Yi dropped to his knees right then and there, it wouldn't change anything, because he was about to make sure everyone saw the line between someone chosen and someone scraping the bottom. That line wasn't just wide. It didn't even have a bridge. Teacher Huang couldn't argue, since he had a point, and the root of that massive power gap came from how their attribute bonuses stacked up. Dust rank types only got a flat 100% boost, which basically meant nothing. Glimmer rank users in the same class jumped up to 150%. Abyss rank, they pulled a clean 200%. Right out of the gate, an Abyss rank awakened with double the stats of a Dust rank, and there was just no catching up from there. Four Eyes slumped, figuring it was already game over. Bai Yi was outmatched in both power and connections. He couldn't wrap his head around why someone that weak would poke the bear in the first place. Trash like that got on everyone's nerves, but in a world like this, survival meant learning to sidestep the garbage. Then again, sometimes the trash blocked the road. So the only way through was biting your tongue and keeping your head down. Trying to push through face first only ended with a bigger slap and deeper shame. Right in the thick of it, Hongchan activated Ferocity, giving his strength a 32% boost, critical hit a 20% bump, and lifesteal a nice 15%. Teacher Huang warned Bai Yi to be careful. She worried he'd try to parry again, but that move drained stamina fast, and Hongchan's attack was both stronger and faster than before. There was no way he could parry that, and Hongchan smirked with a jab about how Bai Yi wouldn't be dodging anything now. But Bai Yi didn't see any reason to dodge. He fired up swiftness, kicking his speed up by over 50% depending on how sharp his reaction was and how clean his execution hit. Then he chained it with Flash Blink. Hongchan froze, trying to figure out when Bai Yi had gotten behind him. Then his throat lit up in agony. Blood burst from his mouth. He crumpled, clutching the ground with a wheeze, while the nearby students stifled chuckles behind their hands. Bai Yi figured trash ought to stay where it belonged. One student blinked and asked if anyone else just saw what happened, while another shook his head, claiming it looked like Hongchan just dropped on his own. Another tried to piece it together, guessing maybe he slipped. Four Eyes squinted, trying to figure out how that fall even made sense, and Teacher Huang admitted she hadn't caught it either. Qi Yin, class president, stayed quiet, running through the whole scene in her head. She figured that right when Hongchan charged in, Bai Yi went ahead and triggered the warrior skill swiftness again without blinking. What kicked in next had to be Flash Blink, the upgraded version, but she had no clue what he pulled off in that flash. She kept running circles in her head about what he did in that moment to land the hit, and figured he pretty much handled the whole thing with one clean move. He hadn't just mastered the core warrior skills top to bottom. He also weaved them into live combat like clockwork, and somehow, in that blink of an eye, even managed to factor in not violating school rules on the spot. One student muttered about what was even going on and why Hongchan looked off, while another jabbed that the opponent hadn't even twitched, which made the whole thing feel lame, and Qi Yin kept puzzling over what in the world was up with Bai Yi. Meanwhile, the system pinged Bai Yi with an experience boost, and he figured, as expected, that actual combat fed him professional experience, and beating an opponent with an elemental type netted him elemental points too. Still, 50 points felt insultingly low, so it looked like diving into some labyrinths couldn't wait much longer. Out of nowhere, Hongchan snapped that Bai Yi wasn't going anywhere. He reached for his bayonet. He locked onto one plan, but Hong Liang cut in and told him to drop it. As the dean of the Awakening Academy's junior high branch, he tossed out a jab, asking if Hongchan hadn't already embarrassed himself enough for one day. Hongchan addressed him as uncle, and Bai Yi figured that had to be who he was. Hong Liang announced that everyone must be wiped from the day's awakening rush, so they should stop gawking and clear out. And it was the weekend anyway, so everyone might as well head home and get some rest. They were supposed to share their awakened professions with their families. Suddenly, Bai Yi's brain hit a wall. Hong Liang cut him a hard glare. He asked if he hadn't been briefed on the school's no fighting rule, but Bai Yi was still caught up in how the fact that he'd been reborn hadn't even registered. Now that he'd gone back 20 years, it meant all of them were still alive, and something else had gone down on his awakening day. May 22nd, 2105. He cursed at himself inside for blanking out on that. That was the one thing that mattered most. Hong Liang got ticked at being brushed off. He told Teacher Huang to rein in her student, and that he'd let the whole thing slide for now without pressing it further. She gave him an apology on the spot. Not long after, Hongchan Sheng got dragged into Hong Liang's office. He swore under his breath, spitting that there was no way he would have lost if that kid hadn't gotten lucky. But Hong Liang called that nonsense. He threw it back at him, asking if he even realized what the kid pulled off the second he lunged. That move was flash blink. Top-tier stuff. More than that, right before blinking, in that split second before impact, he pinpointed the weakest spot on his whole body and smashed it hard enough to tear straight through. The entire combo ran on nothing but basic warrior skills. But even with 15 years on the battlefield, Hong Liang wasn't sure he could have pulled it off that cleanly. Watching that fight felt like a pro gamer wrecking a maxed-out grade schooler using only default settings. So no, that kid wasn't remotely ordinary. Somewhere else, Bai Yi was sprinting home like a man on fire. If there was anything in this second life he absolutely had to do besides revenge, it was that. He skidded to a stop in front of their apartment. His lungs were burning. His mind threw him straight back to the blood on the floor and his mother lying there motionless. The murderer's back still burned behind his eyes. He'd been frozen in horror back then. Now he was just gasping at the foot of the building. He knew this was the one thing he had to stop, even if it meant dying for it. On May 22nd, 2105, at 1807, Bai Lingsheng was sprawled across the couch, watching TV in their living room. He cracked up and tossed out that it was absolutely hilarious. Meanwhile, Ru Yun kept scrubbing dishes at the sink. Bai Yi showed up right then. Bai Lingsheng tossed out a greeting, tossing in that he was finally back. He'd wrapped up class earlier than usual that day. Bai Yi caught sight of Ru Yun through the glass window by the kitchen. He fought hard to keep the tears from spilling as he stared at her, longing carved across his face. He held on to one thought, that he was just so relieved she was alive. When he moved toward her, she lifted her hands and used sign language to speak to him. She let him know she'd made his favorite hot and sour noodles. He bit his lip in response. He told her he actually wanted pickled fish that day. She replied with a small note that maybe he could tomorrow since hot and sour noodles were already on the stove. But he pushed for it, urging that they should go now because he really had a craving for it today. She hit back that he was being totally impossible. He replied that he'd go with her anyway, but Bai Lingsheng chimed in that she could head out on her own. He turned to Bai Yi and pressed what his issue was, pointing out that he came back and didn't even greet his dad. He tossed in whether today wasn't supposed to be his awakening day. He nudged him to go ahead and share his good news. He reached over and grabbed a beer bottle from the counter. He was a level 26 C-class electric warrior with a 400% attribute boost, and he threw in that he finished work early just to come home and celebrate. But Bai Yi shut it down by saying that he didn't awaken that day. The whole thing got messed up because the awakening took too long, so they ended up missing the window. Bai Lingsheng snapped back and asked why he even came home early then. Delay's son turned out to be a glimmer rank class, so both of them might as well be garbage. The kid should have been Abyss rank at the very least, and as he said that, he made it clear that back in his own day, he awakened as an Abyss rank class with absolutely nothing. He reminded him that he worked himself to the bone to support him and poured everything into raising him. He pushed him again to speak, demanding to know what his class was. His energy was pushing down on Bai Yi like a weight, and he loomed over him. Bai Yi muttered that he hadn't awakened. Bai Lingsheng smashed the beer bottle over his head. He yelled that he was just a dust rank. He stomped about how Bai Yi went to school acting all proper, only to awaken as a useless dust rank, then threw out if he was doing it to humiliate him. Bai Yi remembered that the man was an awakened, and also his father. But he was also a brute who had no leash on his temper. So much time had passed, he'd nearly blocked out what went down on May 22nd, 2105, in his past life. After he got branded as a dust rank, shame sank in and the house exploded in a fight. His mom had stood between them like always. Back then, he'd been too weak and too scared to do anything. Bai Lingsheng beat her for an entire hour just to blow off steam. That day, her legs snapped, and a heavy hit to her head scrambled her mind. He'd ended up soaked in blood, crying uncontrollably. Right now, in the present, he was sprawled on the floor, drenched in liquor. He reminded himself that he had only awakened as an E-class nuclear warrior for now, and he picked that class for its unique qualities. But he still needed more time. Bai Lingsheng barked that he should get up. Bai Yi ran through the numbers, knowing that Bai Lingsheng was a C-class Abyss rank. Unlike Hongchan Sheng from school, this guy had way more real combat under his belt, so he wasn't someone Bai Yi could beat right now. Bai Lingsheng rattled off that he really messed up. He never should have let his mom give birth to him, and Bai Yi figured the guy had come home early to wait on him, dead set on wringing out some kind of result. He definitely couldn't let his mom stay there any longer, At least, he got her out of the house. But then, the thud of grocery bags crashing to the floor snapped through the air. Bai Yi instantly whipped around toward the noise. Ruyun stood in the doorway, frozen in shock at the scene playing out in front of her. The noodles she brought were still in the bags lying at her feet. Bai Yi questioned why she was back so soon, wondering if she'd returned to feed him. Earlier, Ruyun had been hurrying home, thinking to herself that she just couldn't let him go hungry. Now, in the present again, Bai Lingsheng grunted that she was back. They might as well show her what kind of trash she'd brought into the world. In the past life, a prisoner mentioned hearing that Bai Yi had become the first green-tier profession advancer, even though advancement usually required at least a blue-tier profession and an A rank. He wanted to know why the guy advanced so early. And not only that, he skipped straight from green tier to a freak-level platinum tier. He told him to explain why he ended up locked in there, since that place only held people marked for death. Bai Yi gave the cold reason that Bai Lingsheng deserved what was coming. He brought up the fact that the man had beaten his mom to death like it meant nothing. Back in the present, Bai Yi threw a punch at Bai Lingsheng. Bai Lingsheng spotted him instantly. He blocked without effort and launched him backward without even bothering to turn around. The house furniture went down hard as Bai Yi slammed right into it. Bai Yi realized quickly that an awakened with real training hit way harder than a normal person could ever handle. Someone without skills wouldn't even survive that punch. Ruyun rushed straight to him, clearly panicked. She fought to get her words out, trying to shield Bai Yi from Bai Lingsheng. Bai Lingsheng casually tossed out a cruel remark. The day he found out she was pregnant with a son, he'd actually felt thrilled. He believed the Bai family had finally caught a break. The two kids hadn't produced a single son, but he managed it. The Bai family's future, he figured, rested on his shoulders. Then he switched up, frustrated. He wanted to know why Bai Yi ended up with a bottom-barrel green-tier profession. He spat that the kid was garbage who couldn't even advance, and it was all her useless genes to blame. She shut her eyes, bracing for the blow. Bai Yi activated Flash Blink on the spot. He intercepted the chair Bai Lingsheng was about to swing, knocking it away. Bai Lingsheng snapped. Bai Yi stood between them, shielding his mother, and shoved Bai Lingsheng back. He warned him not to lay a hand on her. Bai Lingsheng found that amusing. Ruyun, barely holding it together, begged them both to stop. Meanwhile, Bai Lingsheng eyed Bai Yi and questioned whether the kid had finally grown a spine. He stepped forward slowly. Bai Yi figured things weren't lining up fast enough and braced himself to stall. But his mind jolted when Bai Lingsheng caught his sword barehanded. He reacted fast, using parry right away. Even so, Bai Lingsheng shattered the weapon without blinking. Bai Yi processed the sheer gap instantly. It cut through like nothing, power stacked multiple levels above his own. His ribs flared with pain, ready to crack. Still, he did everything he could to absorb the hits. Bai Lingsheng sneered, asking if he planned to stand against his own father now. He followed up with heavy black lightning, a brutal technique packed with speed and electric damage. Ruyun looked frozen in terror as Bai Yi took the blows full on. Bai Lingsheng tossed in another jab, asking if the kid was rushing things. Bai Yi braced and stuck to it, unwilling to dodge at all. Bai Lingsheng admitted he had guts, but questioned what that was worth, calling his profession trash and saying he deserved the beating. Bai Yi locked on to one truth. He wasn't going to let any tragedy repeat this time around. Bai Lingsheng mocked him again, accusing him of getting cocky just because he awakened. He scoffed that the boy couldn't even tell who ran the place anymore. Right then, Liang knocked at the door, calling out for someone to open up. Bai Lingsheng swore and demanded to know who had the nerve to interrupt him now. Bai Yi felt it. They had finally arrived. Bai Lingsheng yelled toward the door, wanting to know who it was and what they were making noise for. Liang responded, questioning why no one opened after so long and mentioning that he was an A-rank divine priest and inspectorate deputy captain, with Chen Jinwu, a blue C-rank divine priest and investigator, tagging along. Bai Lingsheng clocked the title immediately and asked what the deputy captain was doing there. Liang explained they had a report about a wanted criminal, Snow, spotted near the building. They were sweeping every home and wanted to know if he'd seen anything odd. Bai Lingsheng cracked a laugh, claiming the guy showed up on TV daily and if he saw him, of course he'd report it. Meanwhile, Ruyun was gently holding Bai Yi while he locked eyes with the officers. Out of nowhere, Liang paused and brought up Bai Lingsheng's son, asking how he was doing. Bai Lingsheng brushed it off, saying the dumb kid tripped while buying groceries, so there was nothing to fuss about. But Bai Yi cut in, saying that wasn't true. The man hit him. Bai Lingsheng turned and shot a glare sharp enough to kill. 18 minutes ago, down on the street, Bai Yi rang up the officers and reported someone walking into ZU Mansion Building A who looked exactly like Snow from the online posts. Now, thinking back, he figured he must have made the call at that tiny store across the road before heading upstairs. And by this point, the floor had already been swept. The security team always jumped hard when Snow's name came up, but he didn't expect them to respond this fast, though the window was still good. Liang turned to Bai Lingsheng to confirm if Bai Yi had actually said what he claimed, and Bai Lingsheng brushed it off, tossing out that it was just a joke, since there was no way he could bring himself to hit his own son, saying it tore him up too much. But Bai Yi spelled it out. One hit with a stool to the arm, a wine bottle to the head, one punch, one kick, and all of it left injuries serious enough to call in a medical evaluator right away. Liang had nothing to say to that. Bai Yi added that awakeners who can't rein in their violent streak and attack others will fall straight under Divine Canon's Awakener Management Rules. Chapter 8, Article 4, where anyone considered dangerous had to be detained in Awakener prison for 15 days on the spot. Both Liang and Chen Jinwu froze up hearing that. Bai Lingsheng asked if he'd lost his mind. Liang cut him off, stating that he was carrying out a legal arrest and the man had the right to stay quiet. Bai Lingsheng hurled curses and called Bai Yi a bastard, but Chen Jinwu told him to chill out or they'd have to restrain him. Bai Lingsheng swore revenge on Bai Yi, but Chen Jinwu shut him down again, telling him to keep his mouth shut. The officers closed the door, leaving Bai Yi and Ruyan in the room. Bai Yi gave his mom a call. She rushed over and threw her arms around him, and he told her everything was fine now. He remembered shielding her in that moment, and he had 15 days to spare. He reassured her it was the last time, figuring it gave him just enough breathing room to power up. He had a key clutched in his hand. He figured he wasn't taking that beating for nothing, since he'd swiped Bai Lingsheng's safe key while he was at it. He double-checked the key in his palm. He reminded himself that this was the thing Bai Lingsheng had once betrayed teammates for, just so he could claw his way from the bottom of E rank up to C rank. A little while later, he slipped into Bai Lingsheng's room and slid the drawer out of the way. He figured the man always stashed it in the deepest hidden safe in his own bedroom. Not even his family knew about it. Back in his old life, he hadn't even found out it existed until he was already dead. With this, he could finally take a shot at clearing a demon cave solo. Some time passed, and Bai Yi figured that right now only demon caves had a shot at granting profession upgrades. But every last one of them was locked down by God's control, only accessible to guild members. The only options he had were the school-run demon caves and one hidden demon cave he had known about in that previous timeline. That hidden demon cave didn't have a listed level cap or difficulty rating. He locked in on the idea that he had to be the fastest, the one to leave everyone else behind. On May 22nd, 2105, Friday 2202, inside the Inspectorate detention room, one of the officers mentioned that their whole security force had scrambled over that alert. Even the deputy leader got involved, and they still turned up empty, asking if it had been a false lead. Another officer replied that it didn't matter if it was real, since anything tied to rebels couldn't be taken lightly. If Snow actually showed up in their county on group celebration day, things would spiral hard. Chen Jinwu noted that he'd heard their captain was cutting his trip short to return, and Liang quickly reminded them it wasn't their place to be trading talk about that. All of a sudden, Bai Lingsheng called out to Liang, pleading for mercy since it was his first offense and promising it wouldn't happen again. He caught wind that his wife was about to give birth, and his buddy had just launched the flashiest postpartum care center in all of Chuxi County. Liang brought up the inspectorate bribes again and reminded him he used to run with the guild crowd. He pressed him on whether he'd really forgotten how that whole mess spiraled out of control. Bai Lingsheng clammed up, completely blank. Chen Jinwu warned that getting caught meant more than a slap on the wrist, so he should get some early rest since he'd be relocating to the Awakener prison tomorrow. Laying low for now was his only decent option. Bai Lingsheng snapped, blurting out Bai Yi's name with fire in his eyes. Meanwhile, Bai Yi counted down the 15 days until his release, knowing he had to bulk up his strength before then. Demon caves were his only shot right now. They could crack open anywhere, hidden slices of space layered next to the real world, reachable through a door that blinked into reality out of nowhere. Most caves got flagged and locked down fast by guild teams. They were crawling with demonic beasts and packed with demonic ore, making them prime hunting grounds for awakeners chasing a boost. The problem was demon caves weren't a walk in the park and usually needed a full crew after a proper check. In his last life, this particular cave didn't even hit the news until 5 years later, when a demon breakout blew its cover wide open. An F-rank cave normally took 3 E-rank awakeners to handle, and an E-rank one needed a 5-man crew, 3 E-ranks and 2 D-ranks, just to make it through alive. Judging by the current timeline, this one was likely sitting at F-rank, and it was the only hidden cave he could reach right now without tripping alarms. He cracked open the untouched entrance, his hand stretched into the dark beyond. He knew demon caves demanded serious teamwork across elements and combat roles to stand a chance. But right now, he had no backup and 0 time, so going solo was the only card he had left. The system flagged his entry and slapped on a warning about an unknown danger level. One look told him the whole place was an icy wasteland, and he braced himself for cloud-type magic beasts to start showing up. Then his nerves jumped when a massive bear came into view. He picked up signs that someone else had already been through here. The creature snoozing in the open was an Icefield bear, sitting at E8 rank. Out of nowhere, a wolf lunged at him from behind. He figured there'd only been a 10% chance of crossing paths with one, even in an E-rank cave. He started to suspect this cave went unnoticed because most of its monsters were still in hibernation. The bloodthirsty forest wolf belonged to the E-rank cloud-type bracket, and even one of these things had stats that beat his. He dodged fast and leapt clear of its charge. Once on the ground, he widened the gap to buy some breathing room. The wolf rushed back in, jaws snapping, and he blocked with his dagger. He twisted his wrist and flung the beast off with a sharp counter. It spun around and locked eyes with him, ready for another go. He didn't flinch, charging in and slashing deep. The blade split the wolf in 2. Its body dropped, motionless, into the snow. He recalled that the A-rank weapon stashed in that old safe wasn't even available on the market, and filled his current power gap like it was made for him. The Kunwu blade cranked his strength by 150, luck by 50, stamina by 100, and tossed in 20% lifesteal and armor penetration, but he figured beast defenses were tough enough that even hitting a vital spot took 3 or 4 solid strikes to bring them down. He couldn't help missing the good old L-rank days. Just bumping an E-rank profession up by 1 level meant killing 20 wolves, and 10 levels were the price of moving from E to D. His ears perked up when a fresh round of snarls and barks closed in. A pack of bloodthirsty forest wolves had rolled up on him. Bai Yi figured the blood scent had drawn them all in. He braced for the moment they'd all rush him together. Bai Yi lunged at the wolves. He activated his skill. Critical hit. Vital point. He followed it up with dodge right after. Then he chained it with counterattack without missing a beat. He rolled through the wolf pack using all 3 skills in a clean sweep. He figured one last strike would wrap it up. He launched himself upward and spun midair. Touching down, he blitzed through the battlefield like lightning and downed the bloodthirsty forest wolves one after another. He racked up 312 EXP altogether and picked up 18 snow wolf fangs along the way. He figured only the Wolf King remained. He surged forward, cranking his speed up hard. His blade dragged across the ground, sparking as he charged. The system pinged that he took down the bloodthirsty Wolf King and earned 56 EXP. He also snagged 1 Snow Wolf Diamond as a bonus. He figured that sealed his upgrade to D rank. With 1,094 EXP out of 1,000, he hit level 2 E rank and unlocked 12 attribute points that the system now wanted him to distribute. A sigh slipped out as he figured taking down 20 wolves already drained him completely. E-rank bodies ran on fumes, so unless he picked up a dimensional backpack, he'd have to ditch most of the loot. Most demonic caves were locked down by guild teams, so solo grinding as an awakened made progression crawl. The system flagged the Snow Wolf Diamond as a high-end material used in forging rare-tier weapons with a market price floating around 10,000 yuan. He figured if he wanted into the upper-tier demonic caves, teaming with a Divine Core Guild unit was the only shot, and awakening schools existed just to funnel new talent into those teams. For most students, the ultimate dream was graduating with honors and getting drafted by a guild. Getting kicked off a team, though, could kill their growth permanently, since Bai Lingxing hit C rank and stalled forever after getting dropped. But solo grinding was painfully slow, and the freezing cold only made things worse by draining stamina non-stop. He mulled over his next move. The wolves kept on his tail as he darted into the forest. He slashed through a tree on the run. He kept cutting more trees down along the way. He leapt into the air again. The trees crashed down behind him with heavy thuds. Pythons picked up the tremors. More wolves swarmed in too. Bai Yi halted his sprint. His breath came out visibly in the icy air. He figured that was the quickest way to handle it. Now, a horde of cloud pythons and bloodthirsty forest wolves encircled him. Everything flinched as a massive blast rocked the clearing. He figured all that noise had probably stirred up every monster in the area, and the bear should be getting up right about now. Suddenly, the bear stomped one of the wolves flat. Locked in a rage state, it rampaged through targets with a damage boost of 20% across the board. Bai Yi figured the frost bear had just gone completely berserk. It went after anything that moved. The system pinged him with a heads up that he had wiped out some bloodthirsty forest wolves and a cloud python, netting him 160 EXP, 2 snow wolf fangs, and 1 cloud python fang. He figured all he had to do was dodge around and swoop in for cleanup duty. Another round of wolves and pythons down scored him 272 EXP, plus 3 cloud python fangs and 2 snow wolf fangs. He figured E-rank beasts brought the rage but forgot to pack a brain. The system flagged his rank up to level 4 E-rank and handed him 12 attribute points to distribute. He figured the bear tanked the hits and let him conserve a whole lot of energy. Still, no final blow meant no EXP, so he had to earn it. A mass of monsters kept piling in behind him. He was winded and figured that even with the bear tagging in, he was still completely drained. Next phase was on deck. With all that carnage, the battlefield probably couldn't take much more. He kept a flat stare aimed ahead. Jagged rocks waited under sheets of cracking ice. Then, the bear bolted forward without hesitation. He figured they had to go down. Through the whole fight, he kept tracking the layout and knew this wasn't any kind of frozen lake. It was a suspended ice bridge, strung between 2 cliffs. He downed more wolves and grabbed 156 EXP. More wolves and pythons dropped off the cliff edge, and 268 EXP landed in his lap. The system confirmed a bump to level 7 E rank, another 12 attribute points, 13 snow wolf fangs, 2 snow wolf diamonds, and 8 cloud python fangs. He figured most of the swarm was handled. He only had to clean up what was left with whatever strength he had left in the tank. That was his quickest way to grind up. The system flagged a new title, 1 against 100, and locked in a 10% stat boost when facing groups. He figured he had already been laser focused on one thing back then. Every demonic cave ended with a boss. Some of the wolves started syncing up with the bear. He figured a boss in an E-rank cave should be something nasty, maybe the Lion King of E10 tier, and he couldn't tell if all that earlier ruckus just hadn't woken it. He couldn't wrap his head around why it still hadn't shown. The wolves and bear raised a full-on roar at him. Out of nowhere, a spell flared into action. He figured it looked like some kind of ice spell. Then, he was wrong. The ice spell was locked onto him. He stepped back without delay and bolted. The thing hadn't been asleep. It had just been biding its time. It waited until they were wiped out and jammed into one spot, that exact moment when escape was off the table. Suddenly, the ice clamped onto his leg. Cold surged instantly through his whole body. Even the ice bridge had been bait. It only had to show up at the end and clean house. There was something deeper hiding in that low-tier dungeon. Then the monkeys came out. One of them carried level 11, a cloud elemental spell demon, King of Kanglin, backed by 2 level 10 deputy generals, Kanglin demon monkeys. He figured this one might actually have brains behind the brawn. The King of Kanglin curled a nasty smile at him. He stared right back without blinking. On May 23rd, 2105, Saturday at 2:10 a.m., Bai Yi was inside the F-rank hidden demon cave, and he was frozen along with the other monsters. He was completely frozen, and at that pace, his body would spiral into total hypothermia soon. The King of Kanglin suddenly pointed at him. The generals immediately sprang into action. They lunged at Bai Yi at an insane speed. Bai Yi figured he had no other option. The general swung its arm at him. Before the blow landed, he managed to smash through the ice. The general's attack still connected. The King of Kanglin blinked in surprise when he caught that Bai Yi had survived. He activated his skill parry. He poured every last drop of energy into shattering the ice, but the toll on his stamina was massive. He activated his skill, Shatter, which has a chance to instantly break free from control effects when he forces out all his energy, but the stamina cost is brutal. He figured the King of Kanglin would need time to cast another spell at that level. He had to take him out before that happened. The King of Kanglin clenched his fist. The ice pinning down the bear and the wolves shattered, and they roared like something out of a primal nightmare. Bai Yi was horrified. The unsettled ice-field bear loomed over him. He figured the nuclear element naturally got shut down by the cloud element, and with his current stamina, even taking on those two monkeys was a stretch. The king of Kanglen stood on the top of a rock behind the bear. A massive swarm of monsters packed the space in front of the bear. One of the monsters lunged at Bai Yi. Bai Yi figured if more kept charging him like that, survival would be a total fantasy. He jolted when he caught another monster coming in from the side. He dodged both hits fast. He dropped to his knees a few meters behind the monsters. He figured this was bad, since he'd burned through all his strength. The bear let out another roar and barreled at him. He braced himself. The bear slammed its arms and sent him flying. He landed without busting anything, but he figured it was way too cold, and his stamina was about to hit zero. He was boxed in by monsters, and the whole thing looked completely hopeless. Suddenly, the King of Kanglen laughed with a twisted edge. He activated his spell, Ice Storm. Bai Yi wondered if the guy's cooldowns were really that short. He was horrified. But then he remembered that in his past life, he kept getting thrown into crisis after crisis. From all those runs, he picked up a knack for spotting narrow windows of escape. At that point, he had two plays. One, stand and keep slugging it out, but his stamina was already toast. Even if he tanked everything and dropped a few of the top-tier beasts, his odds of making it out were zero. He swerved toward the cliff and bolted away from the King of Kanglen's attacks. He jumped off the cliff, but the spell still clipped his foot. The ice surged across his body as he plunged off the cliff. The King of Kanglen was thrown off by the move. The bear and the wolves froze too. Meanwhile, Bai Yi was still plummeting. He tensed for the crash. He was heading straight for a river. Back at the Ziyu residence, Ruyan knocked on Bai Yi's door. She was trying to figure out if he was seriously sleeping in that late just because it was the weekend, but she was shocked when the room turned out to be empty. It was May 23rd, 2105, Saturday, at 10 a.m. Ruyan read a note that Bai Yi wrote, saying he was heading to a friend's place and wouldn't be back too late, so she shouldn't worry. She wasn't buying it and figured that if he really was going to a friend's, he would have just told her instead of leaving a note. She wondered what was going on with him. Ever since he came home the other day, he had been acting like a totally different person, and she couldn't shake the unease building up inside her. Back at the demon cave, the band-aid Ruyan had stuck on Bai Yi's face was soaked in blood and drifting through the river. The current kept dragging it along. Bai Yi figured that when the ice bridge snapped, nearly 100 magic beasts dropped. He clung to a jagged rock while coughing. He remembered that he had only leveled up 3 times by then. That meant only around 60 were eliminated, so about 40 of the beasts made it. He remembered the moment when he'd fallen off the cliff. There had to be a river waiting at the bottom. He broke through the ice just before hitting the water. He figured option 2 had been his only shot, but breaking out of the ice again had drained almost everything he had left, and on top of that, crashing into the river from that height wrecked his body. The system flagged him with low temperature status, ongoing blood loss, and a weakened condition. He figured he was already running on empty. Suddenly, the Glacier Overlord stomped straight toward Bai Yi without a shred of hesitation. Its fangs looked massive and vicious, jagged, like something straight out of a boss-level creature file. It stood as a level 9 E-class cloud element beast, towering and radiating danger. Bai Yi's grip on awareness was slipping fast. He drifted to when Ling Yue called him a brat for showing up without even calling her out for a drink. She mentioned that he should at least give her a hug while he was at it. Then Han Xiaoling chimed in, throwing out the idea that they should sneak off for foie gras on rice that night. Lucian had pointed something out while questioning the data, throwing in that Bai Yi better hurry and help check it. The memory shifted to when Ruyan had checked in on the wound on his head and asked if it hurt a lot. Everything blurred as his soul frayed and slipped deeper into memory. But then, the King of Kanglen flashed into focus. Bai Lingsheng's voice echoed with pure spite, telling him to go to hell. Another guy backed it up, repeating the same venom with no hesitation. Then a third one, unnamed, cold, final, hammered it in that he should go to hell. They all piled on, locking in the idea that this was where his road ended. That snapped something alive in Bai Yi's soul like a spark catching dry fuel. He locked onto one truth, one line. He wasn't allowed limits, not now, not ever. That weight came from the wreckage still clinging to him from a past life he hadn't let go. He grabbed one of the Glacier Overlord's fangs with bare hands and jammed his dagger upward through its mouth. The Glacier Overlord froze, shaken for once. Bai Yi flared with resolve, locking in that those regrets, they weren't repeating. He'd already lost everything once, with nothing left to give. He'd already died one time too many. Driving forward with his knees, he forced the beast's mouth shut against the strain. He locked his will in place, locking out death once and for all. He sent the creature flying with brute force. He dropped back down, landing on both knees with a thud. One heavy breath pulled out from deep inside him. Power bled from his body, heavy and raw. Only that kind of cornered chaos could yank out a class advancement. He reminded himself that this was the reason he soloed a labyrinth, pulled monsters after him, and dove off a cliff. Suddenly, a pack of wolves swarmed in. More beasts boxed him in, teeth and snarls closing the circle. He tossed himself into every no-win scenario he could find, and all of it circled back to chasing a feeling that had slipped too far out of reach. The system flagged him, saying he hit extreme desperation, and his adrenaline spiked off the charts. Some trace of that old feeling crept back as the system followed up. Advancement triggered. Then it hit him with a block, stating that conditions weren't met and class advancement failed. But he picked up the nuclear holy swordsman advanced skill instead. Bai Yi zeroed in, figuring that even without a full advancement, scoring a skill like that meant something. He readied for the next wave. He locked eyes on the beasts and prepped to wipe them clean off the field. His eyes lit up again, burning with fresh energy as he turned the glare on every monster around. The Glacier Overlord let out a sound that shook the ground. Bai Yi activated his skill, Sanctuary, right then and there. At the same time, the Icefield Bear and the wolves charged in from the rear. He fired up Sanctuary again and brought his blade down with purpose. Confidence didn't just return, it anchored in him like steel. The system confirmed the kill. Icefield Bear and bloodthirsty Forest Wolves down, netting him 376 EXP. Then, it flashed up that the Glacier Overlord was dead, giving him 66 EXP more. His body surged, energy exploding outward with unstoppable force. He picked up one Bloodtooth, one Icefield Beast Hide, 2 Proud Bear Bones, 16 Snow Wolf's Fangs, and 1 Snow Wolf's Core. His level jumped to Sun Tier, giving him 12 attribute points to spread around, and Sanctuary's trigger effect cleared all fatigue, while fully restoring his stamina. He unlocked the Icefield Wanderer title, scoring a 100-point boost to Cloud Element Resistance and Frost Damage reduction. Sanctuary also landed as a permanent skill in his arsenal. He made it clear, King of Kanglen was next. A beat passed before the system pinged again, confirming more bloodthirsty Forest Wolves were down, adding 104 EXP and another jump to level 9 with 12 more attribute points. After crossing into E-Class level 8 and beyond, the difference felt stark. E-Class monsters barely registered as a challenge anymore. The cold didn't even sting, completely drowned by his current flow. Sanctuary's true strength revealed itself. It could recover every shred of damage taken and fire it off in one massive wave, only activatable after building up enough strain. Thanks to that, his stamina sat at full again, like he hadn't just fought a brutal survival battle. He lost track of how long this labyrinth run had stretched, but one thing burned through. He needed to get back fast, or his mom would flip. The wind howled low and cold through the cliffside dark. Meanwhile, the King of Kanglen lounged inside his temple, totally relaxed. His generals stood in position, unmoving, locked in formation. He rested with his eyes shut, completely still. Then something snapped the silence. A noise sharp enough to pull him from calm. Bai Yi came crashing straight through the temple's roof. He landed without hesitation, throwing out that this was round 2. He was already level 10 now, topping E-Class, and the system confirmed that he had just taken down an unsettled Icefield Bear, collecting 64 EXP on the spot. On May 23, 2105, Saturday, at 11 p.m. in the ZU residence, Ruyun kept pacing with restless eyes, wondering where on earth Bai Yi had disappeared to. She kept turning the question over, asking herself why he wasn't back yet, like the night itself refused to give her answers. She whispered inside her chest, practically begging the universe for him to be okay. On the other hand, the King of Kanglen jolted upright in shock. The bear came crashing through his roof with brute force that shattered beams and tiles. The monkeys guarding him bolted awake in alarm. They edged into a nervous ring around the massive intruder, claws tight on weapons. They realized with a shudder that the beast was already lifeless. Bai Yi climbed smoothly onto the heavy body like it was his stage. He remarked with grim satisfaction that they had met again. And right then, the system chimed that he was level 10, sitting at the peak of E-Class, with the unsettled Icefield Bear slain and 64 EXP in his pocket. Behind him sprawled countless wolf corpses, a field of silence testifying to his rampage. The king lifted his hand with deliberate menace. He pointed at Bai Yi with a mocking smirk tugging at his lips. One of the monkeys launched itself instantly to strike. It whipped its weapon downward with brutal intent at Bai Yi. Bai Yi locked his gaze on it like a blade. He caught the swing with defiant strength. He retaliated with his own slash, and the system declared he had cut down a forest demon monkey, earning 70 EXP. The king's expression faltered with disbelief. He snapped his staff upward, directing its icy force straight at Bai Yi. He unleashed his skill, Ice Storm Assault with Frozen Fury. But Bai Yi stood immune, his cloud element resistance burning away the first wave of damage with effortless negation. The king's nerve cracked, and he scrambled toward his bag in a rush. He yanked out another staff, desperation fueling the motion. He wielded it to whip the remaining monkeys forward to swarm Bai Yi. Bai Yi declared coldly that once he dealt with this fool, he would step into D-Class. He triggered his skill, Flash Blink, vanishing into sudden motion. He sliced across the king's arm, severing it clean, sending it spinning through the air. Horror seized the king as he realized his limb was gone. He shrieked in raw pain. He spun his gaze around just in time to see Bai Yi appear at his side. Bai Yi's glare cut sharper than his sword as he raised it high. He muttered goodbye, like a verdict. He carved his blade through the king in a storm of slashes. The system declared victory. The level 1 D-Class Cloud Element Spellfiend leader, the King of Kanglen, was slain, granting 1,000 EXP. His rank surged upward into D-Class Nuclear Warrior. Every attribute bonus doubled instantly, and with his jump to D-Class level 11, he gained 12 attribute points along with items lying ready to be claimed. The cloud element within him had built to bursting, hinting that a new profession would soon awaken. Bai Yi realized he had been so consumed with fighting that he forgot entirely about that, and he wondered if the cloud element accumulation had reached the threshold. He watched red energy roar out of his body like a violent tide. The system announced he had unlocked the level 1 E-Class Cloud Element Mage profession, freely switchable at will. He wondered aloud if this was the fabled red profession, and considered that even as E-Class, with its 200% bonus, it already rivaled his D-Class warrior attributes. He spotted lying before him a D-Class mage weapon, the Stone of Magic, along with a D-Class magic pouch. The monkeys stared in confusion as he crouched down to collect the loot. Their shock deepened when they glimpsed what treasures he pulled into his hands. He let a sinister smile curl across his face. He remarked that in that case, there were still small fry left to mop up here. The system announced his switch into Cloud Element Mage mode. He remarked that they ought to let him try out this new profession he'd never played with before. By May 24th, 2105, Sunday, 5 a.m., Ruyun was still waiting in the Ziyue residence, exhaustion and dread pressing on her. She clutched her own arm in a shaky attempt at comfort, weighed down by sharp worry. Suddenly, Bai Yi pushed open the door. Her head snapped up, relief flooding her features. She jumped to her feet in a rush to meet him. He murmured an apology for making her wait through the endless night. She threw her arms around him in a desperate embrace. He pressed her gently, asking if she had really waited for him this entire time without even eating. He leaned closer with an edge of anticipation, telling her he had a proposal and inviting her to hear it. Using the magic pouch, aside from his essential weapon, Bai Yi pulled out a dozen or so shiny treasures that counted as the most valuable items he owned. Bai Yi laid those items out for a magic ore broker, and the broker leaned in with sharp little eyes, carefully inspecting them. The broker remarked that he'd buy one for 800, but Bai Yi countered with a flat 8,000 like it was non-negotiable. The guy barked at him if he was screwing with him, and if he truly wanted that much for a tiny core like that. While Bai Yi brushed him off with a casual "it was fine" as he turned to leave, but the guy waved him back, grumbling that he couldn't just name some outrageous price. So he'd scoop up everything Bai Yi had for 2,000, and Bai Yi retorted with 5,000. The guy snapped that 3,000 apiece was his final offer, but Bai Yi shot back with 6,000. And when the guy demanded to know why he was jacking up the number again, Bai Yi pushed it to 7,000, to which the guy groaned, "That fine. 7,000 it was." But Bai Yi had better quit yelling. Bai Yi reflected that in his past life, he'd known more than a few slick magic ore brokers, so he was sure he could squeeze out a good price from them. With that cash, he could finally rent a place nice enough that his mom could breathe easy. In his past life, she never had even one single good day worth remembering. In this life, He only wanted her to finally enjoy herself without worry. The rental agent commented that Bai Yi came off like a straightforward man and explained that the first and last 3 months' rent stacked together was $15,000 a month, with utilities and property management fees thrown in. On May 24th, 2105, Sunday at 8 p.m., they were already settled in the rented apartment, and Bai Yi caught himself stunned that it had been so long since he'd seen Ruyan smile that freely. The housing situation was finally under control. He had ranked up to D class, and he had even locked in a brand new profession. But Bai Lingsheng still sat in prison, so he knew he couldn't afford to lower his guard for even a second. Until that matter got tied off completely, he couldn't dive head first into revenge without holding back. He strapped on a D-rank weapon, the Stone of Magic 1, wearing it casually as a bracelet. It was already time to head back to school the next day, and it was also time to go hunt down that thing. At that same time, scattered across other locations, Hongchan stepped out from a secret realm with an air of victory. One of his men reported that their young master's performance had sharpened by a huge margin. A girl moved up close to Hongchan and urged that he should take a break. But he brushed her aside, insisting that while time still ticked, they needed to push on to the next labyrinth for more training. He steeled himself with the thought that no one would outpace him, and as the system pinged that he had leveled up to level 3 Astro Assassin, he promised himself that in the combat simulation test, he would make sure everyone saw who the real genius was. On the other hand, tucked away in an office, a lady scanned through the list of new professions at the affiliated academy for the awakened. She remarked with some disappointment that none of the newly awakened that year carried a golden profession. It seemed, she muttered, there was nothing worth looking forward to in that combat simulation test. On May 25th, 2105, Monday at 7:30 a.m., at the rented apartment, Bai Yi was munching through breakfast in a rare slow rhythm. Ruyan kept smiling at him like she carried some little secret amusement. He pressed her on why she didn't bother to wake him up earlier. She replied that he had been sleeping so heavily that she couldn't bring herself to disturb that rare peace. She urged him to chew slowly, since being late once in a while hardly mattered. He admitted to himself that she was right. It had been ages since he drifted into such restful sleep, and he couldn't remember a single morning where he shared such an unhurried meal with her. Suddenly, she tapped him on the shoulder with a spark of intent. He turned to her and pressed what exactly was wrong. She leaned in and questioned if there was anything he wanted, tossing out toy, book, or maybe even some electronic device. He challenged back, asking if she suddenly decided on handing out a gift and what exactly she was plotting. She answered that his birthday would fall on next Friday. He froze as if the words didn't sink in right away. He remembered with a jolt that June 5th was indeed his birthday. He reflected that too much time had passed, because after his mom's death in his past life, nobody celebrated that day anymore, and the date slowly vanished from his mind. He wondered what he could possibly want, and what thing might count as the most important. He decided that he already held what he wanted most in the world. He kept chewing silently, letting the thought sit heavy while the food lost its flavor. He resolved that it was time to advance toward his next objective, to kill the guy. A few moments later, at the affiliated academy for the awakened, a teacher proclaimed that the little chicks should have shaken off the weekend laziness. Next came the announcement that hellish preparation for the combat simulation would now begin, and he assumed none of them could pretend ignorance about its weight. Their affiliated academy for the awakened functioned as the middle school division under the Divine Guild's direct oversight, with the guild scrutinizing every detail. The combat simulation stood as the first real test after awakening, a battle that doubled as their middle school graduation assessment, and one that would be broadcast in full. More critical still, the standout performer in that simulation would secure the chance to join the training pilgrimage alongside the high school division. It was the yearly and clearest path to brush against the Divine Guild itself. The school handpicked its most exceptional middle and high school students to travel together toward the Shenghai Nation, the Divine Guild headquarters. Bai Yi remembered Shenghai Nation and the grandeur of the Divine Guild headquarters. He recalled that it was where he and his master first crossed fates. It was also the birthplace of that person, though his master and he never truly intersected paths, as he only joined the squad once his master had already entered the Divine Core. To track that guy down in the present, acing that assessment and earning a slot on the training pilgrimage looked like the sharpest shortcut. One of the students remarked that the combat simulation was set for that Friday, confessing his fear but also admitting his blood pumped with excitement. Specs jumped in, claiming he heard the simulation would unfold inside a labyrinth, and he demanded if they could really pull it off. The teacher cut their chatter and ordered them into official training, starting with physical conditioning. It was the gravity room, and every student needed to crank out 10 sets of shuttle runs. One of the students shouted that the man of passion was already charging ahead, hammering out 20 sets. But Bai Yi drifted into his own heavy thoughts. The students lined up tight, ready to enter the gravity room. Suddenly, he raised his voice to the teacher, declaring that he didn't want to step into that training room. The students jolted in their seats, wide-eyed and uneasy, when they caught what Bai Yi tossed out so casually. The teacher pressed Bai Yi directly, eyes narrowing with a mix of curiosity and authority. He remarked that he had heard about Bai Yi's clash with Hongchan last weekend, but he warned sharply that beating a red-quality profession didn't mean he could just swagger off and skip training. Bai Yi countered that he wanted to dive into more specialized training, and the teacher leaned in to probe what exactly he meant by that. He grilled him on whether Bai Yi was hinting that his methods, especially the physical conditioning routine, had some kind of flaw. Bai Yi retorted that while physical conditioning was absolutely necessary for almost all awakened, gravity room work wasn't wrong, yet shuttle runs were only good for warriors and assassins who banked on speed and coordination. It didn't match everyone. He explained that mages and chanters were better off grinding in the element room to sharpen their control of elemental force, and honestly, since every person had different attributes and habits, their training priorities should also vary. The teacher cut in with a sharp edge, remarking that Bai Yi sounded suspiciously like he was trying to lecture his own teacher on how to handle the job. Meanwhile, Qi Yin mulled over the fact that the training method Bai Yi described lined up exactly with what Mr. Dongyang from the Divine Corps had proposed not long ago. But since that idea had only just been floated, and if her father hadn't brought home the videotape, she would have been clueless. She doubted Bai Yi could have conveniently dreamed up the same thing on his own. On the flip side, Specs jumped in and reminded Bai Yi that even if his logic checked out, he should really show some tact toward the teacher, since the man was their school's most authoritative trainer, and Bai Yi's blunt tone cut deep. Out of nowhere, the teacher tapped Bai Yi on the shoulder, and Bai Yi's chest froze with a spasm of terror. The teacher admitted that the training method Bai Yi pitched actually sounded intriguing, and it was he himself who hadn't shown enough consideration. Specs exhaled in relief, shoulders finally loosening. But the teacher cautioned that with so many students crowding the school, tailoring programs for each person was a nightmare, and bluntly, the combat simulation doubled as every student's graduation performance, which if botched, could trash an entire life. As a teacher, he muttered that the choice between steering a student's future for them or letting them steer it themselves was a crushing dilemma. Bai Yi reflected that although his original family in his past life had been rotten, he had been lucky to stumble into teachers who helped him grow without twisting into something darker. He then declared that the teacher should put faith in him, since he had no intention of screwing up that graduation performance. The teacher followed by pressing who exactly Bai Yi wanted to train, and whether it was true he had awakened as a nuclear warrior. Bai Yi asked instead if the elemental suppression in the element room could be cranked to its maximum level. The teacher and the rest of the students flinched in surprise at his bold request for the element room. Bai Yi justified that it was right, because even though he bore the role of a warrior, he wanted to balance his abilities and hammer at his weak points, all while silently thinking that he couldn't exactly confess to anyone that he aimed to train like another mage profession. Abruptly, Qi Yin declared that she also wanted to practice elemental control since she happened to be a mage, and the teacher waved it off, saying fine. They could do what they wanted, as long as they didn't humiliate him during the final assessment. Qi Yin then turned to Bai Yi with fire in her voice, declaring they should practice together. But he shut her down cold, saying he was heading for a private room. She pressed him, asking if he rejected her, and whether it wouldn't be quicker to practice with a partner, and he flatly told her yes. She snapped back that his rejection had only fired her up even more. Specs grumbled that he was stuck at the bottom anyway, so he pressed if he could just find a corner to slack off, but the teacher flatly refused. Inside the element room, the elemental suppression hung at 10%, and Bai Yi figured he was already far too used to the warrior profession. Yet he remained nothing more than a novice fumbling with the mage path, so in that stretch of time, he needed to grind mastery as quickly as he could. He also had to keep his trump card buried for now, and he couldn't let anyone sniff out that he could stack other professions because that school ran under the God's watch and they tracked every single move. If he showed his hand too early, he'd probably end up as a target for those people, and when it came to those classmates, it was safer not to tangle himself with them. Meanwhile, the elemental suppression in Chi Yin's element room sat at a measly 1%, and she muttered that she couldn't allow Bai Yi to pull ahead of her. After school, Bai Yi drifted alone toward the school gate. One of his classmates suddenly called after him, urging him to wait up, and he figured those two were hustling to catch him. Those two complained that he shouldn't stomp off so fast. Bai Yi recalled that in his past life, those two had been his closest friends in middle school, and since they all sat at the bottom and caught bullying, they often clung together after classes, which had been his only patch of happy time back then. But in this life, his aim was revenge, so pointless social ties would only drag him down. One of his classmates pressed what was wrong with him and complained that he ran off alone again just like Friday when he thought they were supposed to be an unbreakable trio. And then Specs needled him about whether he figured he'd gotten stronger. He remarked that after awakening, Bai Yi seemed to have grown suddenly more confident. He quipped why anyone riding a bike would wait for someone trudging on foot. But then he jolted when Bai Yi directly called him out. Bai Yi bluntly told him to get his lungs checked when he had a chance. Specs blinked in confusion, while the other classmate crowed that he knew it, and teased if he was right that Bai Yi had just been waiting to head home with them. Bai Yi cut him off with a no and insisted they couldn't keep up with him, and the classmate shot back, asking what that meant and whether he waited there just to mock them. He grumbled that if he hadn't burned all his strength on those shuttle runs, he definitely could have caught him. But Specs pointed out if he only did 6 sets, and he fired back that it felt like he had outdone him. On the other hand, Bai Yi reflected that in his past life, during high school, Specs had suddenly been diagnosed with a lung disease. So he took a leave from school because of the serious illness and passed away soon after. And even if they hadn't been friends in that life, he at least hoped Specs stayed healthy this time. Meanwhile, their classmate groaned that Bai Yi had turned so cold and acted like a jerk. Specs admitted that Bai Yi had really changed a lot, but deep down he still felt like he was the same person. Dongyang was hanging around at Shanghai Nation, right at the new recruit training ground. He mentioned with a casual lift of tone that a new recruit who recently joined the Divine Guild had been tearing through expectations like it was nothing. He pressed the guy, asking if he was the one who shattered all the records. The guy waved it off, replying that Dongyang was flattering him and that he was only here to make his report. Monday evening, Bai Yi remarked to his mom that she should try not to head out alone anymore since he would be home early in the evenings to grab groceries on the way. But then it struck him sharply that such a promise wasn't nearly enough. He told himself that he had to secure a more stable and safer environment for her as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Bai Lingsheng found himself in the awakened prison. He was waiting his turn in the meal line. Without much noise, he slid money to the server's hand. He leaned close and murmured that he'd leave the matter in his hands, and the server assured him with confidence that everything was settled, and he could walk out the very next day. On Tuesday, back on campus, Bai Yi realized during training that he had more or less gotten the hang of the mage's controls. He drilled into his mind that the crux lay in casting time and calculating the precise elemental power needed. Across from him, his classmate bragged that he could push through 100 sets that day. On Wednesday, Specs dragged himself by the running tracks, looking so drained that he crumpled down to his knees. Not long after, Bai Yi stepped out from the element room. Specs and another classmate invited him to grab dinner together that night, but he brushed them off politely, reminding them that he needed to get home early again. The classmate shot back that he was way too cold. Bai Yi countered coolly that, as an archer, the wind-up animation before activating a skill took too long, so Specs should polish his initial movements. Specs nodded and agreed. Thursday, right after school, Specs made his way to the school hospital, where the doctor pointed out bluntly that it was a good thing he caught it early. That parasitic tumor in the lungs could blow up frighteningly fast once it started growing. The doctor pressed that he must schedule surgery at a major hospital soon, and once it was cut out, he would be fine. So as Specs voiced his thanks, he promised to set an appointment next week. He then reflected with unease that if not for missing a school physical, he would never have bothered adding a lung CT scan. He puzzled over how Bai Yi could possibly have known about the problem in his lungs and what exactly had happened to him. A short while later, Specs was walking down the stairs. Out of nowhere, He caught a student whispering to another about how Hongchan had cheated again, already climbing to level 4 E-class, guaranteeing first place in the assessment. The other student pressed for details, asking if he didn't need a labyrinth to level up, and the reply came sharp, that Hong's family had their own private labyrinth, specially reserved for training their private army. The student then brought up the guy Hong had clashed with last weekend. He revealed that Hong was plotting to teach that guy a lesson right after school, and the other student snorted knowingly that with his temper, there was no chance he'd swallow such a heavy loss quietly. By then, Hong had armed himself, and since it was happening off school grounds, it was obvious he was gearing up to kill. Specs figured he had no business stirring up scum like Hongchan, and needed to hustle to help Bai Yi. If they were off school grounds, Hongchan would no doubt pull some filthy stunt, maybe even rally a pack to corner Bai Yi. Then he wondered what difference it would make if he went. He came to a sudden halt, but then the thought hit that Bai Yi had saved him, handed him his life back, and even if it meant dying, he owed it to his brother to return the favor. Bai Yi had better hang in there. He questioned himself about why he was busting into the armory and reminded himself that dodging scum was his rule. The armory doors loomed heavy, chained and padlocked like a warning. Without blinking, he smashed the lock open. He reminded himself again that Bai Yi had saved him, handed him his life back. Even if it killed him, he had to save his brother. He yanked an axe from the rack. He told himself Bai Yi had to hang on. Out of nowhere, Chi Yin demanded to know why he was trying to break into the armory. He froze, eyes wide, shocked to see her there. She pressed what was wrong and remarked that he looked like he was rushing somewhere. He declared that he had to go save Bai Yi. She stood there, stunned, horror washing over her face. Meanwhile, Bai Yi was heading home, guiding his bike through a cramped alley. He called out for Hongchan to show himself, since he'd been tailing him ever since he left school, and pressed what he was after. Hongchan stepped out from the shadows. He announced he was obviously there to settle the score from last weekend. Bai Yi taunted him, wondering if he really believed he could win now. Hongchan snapped that of course he did, and triggered his skill, Accelerate. He barked that he hadn't been training all this time for nothing. Then he unleashed Backstab. Blink behind. Bai Yi instantly summoned his weapon. Without turning, he slashed backward and split Hongchan's weapon clean in two. Hongchan reeled, baffled how his attack power could be lower, and how that even made sense. Bai Yi challenged if he really thought he was the only one who'd gotten stronger. He flipped his weapon and drove it into the ground beside Hongchan's head. There was one thing Hongchan hadn't picked up on during their first fight, but now, after all the grinding and growth, he caught it right away. Even though they were the same age, the one standing before him was someone he could never reach. In Hongchan's view, he felt tiny and powerless, while Bai Yi loomed like a massive figure swallowing the space around him. He pressed if he had leveled up too, demanded what level he was, how he pulled that off, and why it happened. He snapped that it was completely impossible. He had done extra drills after every school session just to claw his way to level 4, grinding himself down, so he demanded how he could possibly be faster than him. Bai Yi countered with a quiet jab about his so-called hard work. He stooped, dragging his weapon off the ground in one smooth motion. He tossed out a question, wanting to know if he had ever actually died before. Hongchan barked that he should stop wasting time since he was already at his mercy so he could kill him, torture him, whatever pleased him, and he fired back, asking if he had been looking down on him for a while. Bai Yi admitted it, though he added that he didn't despise him too much because he had trailed him all that distance without ambushing or calling for backup, showing up solo instead. He followed up, probing if he came just to measure his own power against his. Hongchan shot back that he should stop talking because either he killed him right there or waited to be killed himself, and he shouldn't act like he could see straight through him. And Bai Yi dryly remarked that he was taking back what he said about not hating him that much. Meanwhile, Specs pointed out that they should take a look because they were right over there. But judging by the scene, it didn't seem like there was anything left for them to do. On the flip side, Bai Yi revealed that he had actually been expecting Hongchan and tossed out the idea of a deal. He could share a way to boost his power faster, but the trade-off was that he had to offer him something in return. May 29th Friday rolled around as assessment day, and the teacher declared that their week of training had officially wrapped up. The combat simulation was about to kick off. Before launching it, he wanted to stress one thing to everyone, that even though it was called a combat simulation, they were heading into a real labyrinth. Most of the labyrinth's strength had been suppressed by a barrier, but danger still lurked, with plenty of beasts crawling inside, so they needed to stay within their limits. For safety's sake, the school had assigned top seniors from the high school division to watch over them. These seniors normally wouldn't jump into fights, but if trouble hit, they'd step in or shut the simulation down. Each group would have 4 or 5 members, with one senior guiding 3 or 4 students through a dungeon run. They could pick between F-class or E-class dungeons. Of course, the E-class dungeon was brutally hard, and if their strength wasn't up to par, he didn't recommend trying it because failure could cost them academic credits. He instructed them to begin selecting their labyrinth levels, and once everyone made a choice, the teams would be arranged accordingly. He told them to raise their hands if they wanted the E-class labyrinth. Qi Yin lifted her hand, as did the student in front of her. Hongchan Sheng raised his hand too. Specs commented that they sure were confident to take on the risky E-class, and his buddy remarked that if he weren't a green quality professional, he'd go for it too. The teacher tallied that among the 10 students, 8 had opted for the E-class labyrinth, while Qi Yin quietly noticed that Bai Yi hadn't picked it. The teacher said that the remaining students would be randomly assigned to the F-class labyrinth, but Bai Yi cut in and told him to hold up a second. He announced that he wanted to take on the school's D-class Spirit Jade labyrinth. The teacher looked completely thrown off, caught flat-footed in front of the class. Every student's jaw dropped in surprise, but he didn't flinch, calm, as if nothing out of the ordinary happened. The teacher pressed Bai Yi about whether he was joking and who in their right mind would dive straight into a D rank, while Hong Liang barked that it was impossible. A D-rank demon cave was death waiting to happen, and high school kids were barely supposed to scratch its edge. But Bai Yi countered, demanding whether the handbook actually forbids them from taking on a higher D rank, and reminding that the simulated combat rules let them pick their own difficulty. The school's real job was to sniff out talent for the Divine Core, and what counted was guts, muscle, responsibility, and raw spark. He challenged him, sharp, asking if he planned to strip him of his shot to prove himself. Hong Liang reminded him that those caves were team-only zones. Bai Yi fired back that he could handle it solo. Hong Liang shot him down, saying the rules exist to keep students alive, so solo entries were off limits. Then, out of nowhere, she announced that she'd pick D rank too. Everyone turned, startled by her nerve. Hong Liang demanded if she'd lost her mind and how he'd ever explain it to her father if she got hurt, but she brushed him off, saying she wanted the top score too. Besides, she just wanted to test herself. She threw Bai Yi a playful wink, but Bai Yi shut her down, flatly declaring he'd clear it solo. She pressed if he was refusing again, and the teacher stepped in, saying his refusal didn't count. Hong Liang groaned, muttering fine, calling it unbelievable. One reckless act after another. They'd just awakened a week ago and already thought they could fly. The teacher concluded that if that's the case, the D-rank run would be just the 2 of them, since no senior would be dumb enough to risk joining. But then, Ziling stepped up, saying he'd go. The nation's flowers still needed someone to guard them. The teacher exhaled, saying if he was going to, then things were fine. Meanwhile, she recognized him and asked if he was the one who nearly made it into the Ultimate School Corps. Bai Yi mulled over the name, puzzled by what the Ultimate School Corps even was and who Ziling really might be. Ziling, though, eyed him with quiet disdain, thinking he was just another show-off desperate to strut his feathers in public without knowing his own limits. The teacher finally declared that the teams were settled, and the simulation test would start right away. Inside the caves, professional stream gear would track them every step, recording everything. They'd better give it their all, and when it's done, they'd see who really earned the top score. The Awakened Academy stood right above a great demon cave that had been conquered ages ago, holding both its high school and middle school divisions in one place. The bunch of students who picked the E-class dungeon headed straight for their glowing portal. Another group, the ones who picked F-class, moved along in the same determined way. The Great Demon Cave had spat out a network of smaller caves that made perfect training grounds for student runs. Most of those areas stayed under tight control, capped between F and D rank. Once a student entered a dungeon, that was when simulated combat officially kicked off. But the whole ordeal went live on stream, so every reckless swing and stumble got captured on camera. Bai Yi figured it meant he had to keep his cards close, since flashing everything in front of unknown dangers wasn't smart, especially when their Lingyu Demon Cave held what he was after. A bit later, Bai Yi, Qi Yin, and Ziling stepped through the dungeon gate as a trio. Ziling remarked that they had nothing to stress about because he'd keep them safe. bragging that he'd already cleared even unsealed D-rank demon caves with others before. Chi Yin pressed him for details about how tough D-rank monsters really were, and he explained they usually hovered between E5 and D5, somewhere around level 5 to 15, noting that stronger beasts in the school's dungeons stayed sealed, so full-blown D-rank fights almost never happened, let alone boss encounters. Still, she shouldn't take high-level E-rank monsters lightly. Their speed and striking power could be nasty since they were still freshly awakened and barely above rookie level. He promised to find weaker mobs so she could rack up credits, telling her to chill because her senior was around, and he wouldn't let a junior like her get scratched. Then he froze up when he realized Bai Yi had just strolled right past him. He called out, warning that if Bai Yi charged ahead like that, he might spook the monsters. Bai Yi snapped that he talked too much. He told him to stay quietly behind because he didn't need his backup. Ceiling went rigid, seething so hard that his hands shook, his anger choking off his words completely. Meanwhile, their whole run flashed across the school grounds main screen for everyone to see. Someone in the crowd remarked that this year's simulated combat livestream had officially kicked off. Over in the faculty room, the teachers gathered together, watching the same feed unfold. At the same time, the vice captain and captain of the Ultimate Campus were in their own academy. The vice captain nudged the captain, telling her to check out that stream because it was about to get entertaining. One of the juniors had apparently gone for a D-rank dungeon. Curious, she asked which class it came from. He grinned and said that was the best part. He was just some so-called useless green warrior, and he wanted to see where that kind of guts came from. Specs muttered that the monsters should really not come near him. They were holed up inside the sealed F-class dungeon, and the other students were clashing up front while he worked from a safe distance, tossing buffs their way. The senior, keeping an eye on them, remarked that since he was just a chanter, he should stick to the backline and focus on buffing, so there was no reason for him to be trembling like that. The F-class Flamebat and Violent Cat lunged towards Specs, and he grumbled about why an F-class dungeon had to be this nerve-wracking. Meanwhile, a pack of F-class Vicious Fangs and an E-class Star Ferret had ganged up to ambush the students in the E-class dungeon. The senior supervising them crouched beside an injured student and checked if he was holding up. Hongchan Sheng suddenly declared that if they couldn't handle it, they might as well let him take over by himself. He swore in his mind that he would crush Bai Yi's record no matter what and unleashed his skill, ferocity, strength. Over in the D-class dungeon, Bai Yi was cutting through monsters like it was nothing. The system chimed to inform him that an E-class Rage Main had been slain, earning him 30 EXP. He went on to wipe out 3 more Rage Mains, pocketing another 90 EXP with smooth precision. Chi Yin remarked in awe, asking how he managed that kind of speed. Then a new wave of monsters poured in. Bai Yi explained that the creatures here were sealed and could only muster half their power, so they weren't much trouble. Chi Yin countered that even at half strength, he was still juggling several enemies alone, and it seemed she had a long road ahead before catching up to him. He responded calmly that comparing herself to others was pointless. She should just keep being herself. She teased that he didn't have to sound so effortlessly cool all the time, and promised she'd give it her all. Xiling fumed quietly, thinking Bai Yi had stolen every bit of the spotlight. He commented that it was just a D-class dungeon, so Bai Yi shouldn't get too full of himself and should stay sharp. His showing was impressive, sure, but it was still his first dungeon run, and this was a 3-chamber dungeon, no easy feat. So as his senior, he figured he ought to throw in a few words of guidance, but Bai Yi brushed past him and told Chi Yin to deal with the monsters coming from the right. He'd take the left side. Ziling's hands shook with irritation as Bai Yi and Chi Yin left him standing there, marching off toward the incoming horde. He clenched his jaw, wondering if he was being ignored again. Meanwhile, Bai Yi noted that the monsters on the right were weaker and asked Chi Yin if she could handle them on her own, while Xiling fumed behind them, branding him a disrespectful brat. Bai Yi mentioned that the combat simulation was meant to test each fighter's individual skill, and since she was there to be evaluated, she should want to score well. She affirmed that she got it and that she could handle it. They split off just as planned, each moving toward their side of the battle. Xiling's frustration boiled over into a dark scowl, his thoughts laced with curses. He fumed that Bai Yi really seemed dead set on making things difficult for himself. The faculty remarked that it was pretty wild, considering he had taken down a bunch of E-class monsters all on his own. One of the teachers pressed about his current level, and another mentioned that his report still listed E-class level 1, so no one could tell for sure if he was maybe E3 or even E4. And that wasn't even the whole story. Earlier, he picked the monsters on the left for himself and sent her to the right, all because he noticed the elemental counter setup and wanted the Flora element user to handle the Astro element beasts. Even though he understood the test was supposed to gauge individual ability, he still made the smartest call, proving he had a sharp tactical sense. The teacher then recalled when he confidently claimed that he should trust him because he wouldn't let him down during the graduation performance. He admitted that the kid hadn't been bluffing and wondered what move he would make next. Back inside the dungeon, he was still trading blows with the monsters without breaking a sweat. He realized earlier that the Astro element beasts mostly came from the right-hand cave. Not only were they weak, but they also happened to be countered by her Flora element. One of the monsters screamed while charging after her. She responded by unleashing her Vine Wall skill. She did it again. The wall coated the creature in poison, and she immediately followed up with her Constrict skill. The system pinged that she'd taken down the level 6 E-class Starbug and earned 30 EXP. She exclaimed that she pulled it off again. He noted that mages at E-class possessed a basic class skill unique to their type. Her trick was shaping plants into a toxic barrier, the Vine Wall. But for her first run in a dungeon, handling higher-level monsters calmly and even using the wall to trap and crush them showed she had real promise. The D-class monsters should all still be sealed. She could manage what was in front of her. At that pace, even with the live broadcast pros watching, he could conceal his full power and still score high. But he also had to factor in the broadcast gear trailing them inside, so he pondered how to take the next step in his plan. Meanwhile, he figured they probably thought they were pretty tough. He felt they were completely overlooking him, their senior, since they seemed to have everything under control. Out of nowhere, he lined up his arrow at her back. He figured they should test something out and triggered his Arrow of Light skill. She flinched as the glowing arrow zipped past her. It disappeared into a cave. He explained he was just trying to give her a buff and demanded why she dodged. Suddenly, the level 11 D-class double-headed main lion burst out of the cave. It lunged at her while her attention was still stuck on him. She froze for a second when she sensed the beast closing in from behind. Bai Yi jolted in alarm when he glanced behind him. The double-headed main lion tore through Qi Yin's vine wall like it was nothing. She froze in horror. Her vines burned to ash, leaving the lion loose and snarling. It bellowed as it lunged toward her, ready to shred her apart. She figured they were done for. Xilin's grin twisted with dark amusement. Bai Yi triggered his skill, Swiftness, without hesitation. He swung his sword at one of the lion's heads, slicing fast, but shock hit him when the beast dodged clean and kept barreling forward. It aimed straight for Qi Yin. He triggered Flash Blink in an instant, flashing between her and the monster. His blade tore a deep gash across one of its heads as he landed. He wondered why the creature moved with such absurd speed. Meanwhile, Xiling mused that he knew this labyrinth inside out, and though most D-class monsters were sealed, that stray double-headed main lion in the cave kept respawning. No matter how confident those newly awakened recruits were, there was no way they'd handle a D-class monster, especially one juiced up by his skill. The fastest double-headed main lion around. It went berserk, boosting its attack by 10% and its speed by 50%. Bai Yi cursed inwardly, debating if he needed to go all out. He told her to fall back since she couldn't take that thing right now. But that snapped Qi Yin out of her daze and she cursed inside too, realizing she'd actually been scared. The lion sprang at them again. Qi Yin cast her vine wall instantly. Bai Yi prepared to strike, but he couldn't help glancing her way as she powered up. She stacked another layer. 3 layers of vine walls surrounded them. Bai Yi gawked in disbelief. She told him to let her join in, insisting she wouldn't slow him down because even if it was D-class, she wanted to fight. Xiling figured that chick had lost her mind, thinking how she nearly got chomped in one bite earlier. Bai Yi admitted he thought she'd be terrified beyond reason, but she bounced back fast. She shot back that she worked too hard to fall here of all places. Qi Yin remarked that with Bai Yi around, she wouldn't die anyway, which came out half like a boast and half like a tease. He replied that she had just stacked 3 layers of skills, so wasting what followed would be stupid. And she responded that she obviously got the point. He recalled how, in his last life, she had already dazzled everyone back in middle school. Confident, upbeat, and downright radiant in how she carried herself. She had greeted everyone easily, and when introducing herself, She mentioned that her dream was to join the Five Divine group and become a cleric, her eyes practically glowing with conviction. Even though he'd heard her family background was impressive, she treated everyone with genuine warmth, which earned her the class president spot, where she handled every duty without flinching. Later, she vanished from the spotlight, maybe settling into an unremarkable life. Yet right now, she was the one he could rely on without question. As long as nothing else collapsed, he could mask his power and breeze through that stage unnoticed. Meanwhile, Zealing doubted if the two of them seriously believed that their teamwork alone would cut it, and he assessed that the vine wall wouldn't trap the creature for even a couple of seconds. Real combat didn't run on confidence alone, and with their current ability, they were miles away from handling that souped-up D-rank beast. They'd end up cornered and desperate, eventually turning to him, begging for intervention. He'd make sure they learned what real hierarchy felt like. At the same time, Bai Yi mentioned he'd bait the lion, pointing out it was a core type, and she needed to watch the timing carefully, to which Qi Yin confirmed she was ready. He told her to get moving. He figured he had already hit the creature once, so right now, it was locked onto him completely. He sprinted toward a nearby lake, feet pounding against the dirt. Without hesitation, he plunged straight into the water. The lion lunged after him, crashing into the lake with a violent splash. Bai Yi signaled that this was the moment. The lion's jaws were just inches from tearing into his back. Qi Yin then unleashed her skill, Vine Wall, without missing a beat. The lion's flames fizzled out on contact, letting her bind it tightly and drag it up from the lake. It roared in rage, muscles thrashing as it fought to break free. She taunted that the lion could take it, its berserk and core-type states both stripped away, leaving it poisoned and helpless. Bai Yi then surfaced and landed beside her in one fluid motion. He stated coolly that the beast couldn't run anymore, so they might as well finish the test and push for the top score. Zealing kept wondering how one layer of the vine wall could trap the lion when he couldn't even hold it down himself, especially since that same barrier had been boosted by him earlier. He stood at a distance, watching how Qi Yin somehow managed to keep the raging lion pinned right above the shimmering lake. He was fuming inside, every thought dripping with curses. Meanwhile, the teacher explained that a core-type lion's power fizzles in water, while flower-type skills bloom stronger there. With simple elemental counters and clean teamwork, even a higher-ranked monster could be pinned. And that kind of quick reaction mixed with leadership made for a perfect show. One teacher remarked that the top rank in this practical test seemed practically locked, and another noted that only the final strike was left. They just had to finish off the lion, and once the footage went for review, he was likely to smash the record for the highest score ever. Then one of them said the live stream had been cut, and another demanded to know how that happened right then. Back inside the secret realm, the drone lay wrecked and smoking where it crashed. Zealing figured there'd be no recording proof left, so they could forget about earning that top credit. At the same time, Bai Yi thanked Qi Yin for her skill as the system popped up, reporting their successful kill of the level 11 double-headed main lion and the 100 experience gained. She admitted she only followed his directions, but he countered that it was because she'd trained her elemental resistance so thoroughly that she could twist a single skill into countless forms to trap the beast. She blinked and asked what he meant by elemental resistance. Suddenly, Zealing jumped in, mocking that their boss had fallen too, so they might as well leave the Outer Dark for trembling weaklings that was pushing it. Bai Yi retorted that he knew exactly how it felt for first-timers in the Demon Cave when a D-rank monster suddenly got buffed. Zealing shot back that he already said he'd meant to strengthen the girl, but she dodged, and Bai Yi jabbed that his skill level was trash anyway. Zeiling's rage spiked hotter. Bai Yi pressed him, asking if that sloppy aim was really the best an archer like him could manage. Qi Yin chimed in that it was no surprise he hadn't made the ultimate school team. Zealing snapped, demanding what she just said. Bai Yi stepped forward fast, ready for a fight. Zeiling's fury boiled over until the veins bulged across his face. He gave a bitter laugh and spat that the road ahead was long, telling them to just wait and see. Then he turned and strode toward the secret realm's exit. Right after, Bai Yi spotted the broken surveillance camera. Qi Yin complained that the sensor had been a pain anyway, then asked what he was up to. Bai Yi wondered if Zealing had done it to block their high scores, realizing no one could witness what happened now. He noted they'd need a new entry permit to return after leaving, and since everyone else was still far from the Demon Cave, he had plenty of time. He mentioned that he could still help somehow since he finally had the chance to handle what was left undone. Qi Yin questioned what he meant by what was left and what exactly he intended to do. Moments later, they were back at the sealed cave. Bai Yi quietly asked Qi Yin to keep what came next a secret for him, saying even if he told anyone, no one would buy it. She frowned, wanting to know what secret could sound that unreal and what he was planning. He reached into his pocket. He remembered saying that Hongchan owed him something, the unsealed magic stone, kept by Uncle Qin. He drew out the stone from his pocket. He calmly declared that he was going to fully unseal the Spirit Jade magic shield. His expression stayed composed as the stone flared to life before him. Qi Yin blurted that it was impossible, that a D-rank magic shield couldn't be undone, or else the sealed high-level monsters would pour out. The magic stone glowed fiercely, pulsing with raw energy. Bai Yi told her not to panic since the monster's power would still be dampened by the seal, but she shot back that even so, the two of them couldn't handle that many D-ranks. He replied that they didn't need two people. The energy around him deepened into red as his class shifted. Qi Yin's eyes widened and she stood frozen. She demanded how he had even managed to become a mage. He simply answered that he was doing this alone. Bai Yi remarked that Qi Yin should stay by the exit instead. 3 chained double-headed main lions burst out of the cave in a frenzy. Qi Yin caught sight of them charging straight toward Bai Yi. While she made her way to the exit, she warned that he should watch out. Right as the lions lunged to tear into him, he triggered his staff with sharp precision. He shifted into an S-rank E-class cloud element mage and unleashed his flash freeze without hesitation. The skill's icy burst swiftly engulfed the 3 lions. Qi Yin wondered aloud if he had a red quality profession, admitting it was hard enough for her to restrain even a single lion. She pressed him further, asking if he actually managed to subdue all 3 at once. Bai Yi explained that those beasts had been locked away for too long, so the moment the seal broke, they would all surge out together. He mentioned that he needed more space to handle them. She replied that she understood and stepped back carefully. All of a sudden, a pack of fierce flame leopards came leaping out of the cave too. They sprang at Bai Yi the instant they emerged. Each one was a level 12 D-class monster. Bai Yi figured that although they were D-class, being sealed so long had drained at least half of their strength. He cast Flash Freeze again in one clean motion. He reminded himself that his mage skill, Flash Freeze, worked best for controlling them first. As his back faced the cave, a fire saber-tooth lunged to ambush him. He instantly shifted to nuclear warrior form. He swung his sword upward, blocking the creature's blazing fangs with a metallic crack. He wondered briefly if it was trying to catch him off guard. The saber-tooth froze in shock as he vanished from its sight and vaulted clean over its head. He switched back to Cloud Element Mage. The saber-tooth stiffened as ice locked it in place. Qi Yin could hardly believe how effortlessly he could switch professions. She realized that watching the way he handled each move, she finally grasped why he insisted on visiting the element room and training his elemental resistance. A mage's essence, she knew now, was to channel energy into natural forces or bend similar elements within range. Before, she believed that stronger magic and higher casting frequency defined true power, since elemental energy was wild, ancient, and stubborn to command. But after seeing him in action, she now understood that mastery over one's own power mattered far more. Only through total control of elemental power could one shape countless variations of technique. Even a single basic skill could unfold into endless potential. Her eyes shimmered as she stared at him in silent admiration. She realized that he had already reached that level of refined mastery. Qi Yin figured all of them had been left behind ages ago. She bit her lip, buzzing with excitement. She figured he looked ridiculously cool. Out of nowhere, the Hell Mammoth burst forth. It was the D-Class Level 15 Spirit Jade Labyrinth Lord, its stats chopped in half because of the seal. Bai Yi figured it had finally decided to show up. The mammoth bellowed like thunder, and he braced himself. He switched into nuclear warrior mode. He figured what he wanted was riding on that beast. He leapt high, jammed his sword straight into its head, and landed a clean critical hit. He wrenched the blade sideways to tear the wound wider. He then sprang back fast from the monster. He figured that even sealed, a level 15 mammoth stood no chance against a level 10 monkey. The mammoth went berserk, locking all its rage on him. It thundered forward for another charge. He then vaulted off the ground. He rained down a flurry of slashes, each one striking critically. Moments later, the mammoth slumped under its wounds, too broken to stay upright. Bai Yi's eyes lit up, golden energy rippling through them. He then unleashed his sanctuary. The system pinged that the title 1 against 100 had kicked in. The mammoth wailed in agony as his blade sliced it clean in half. The system chimed again. He'd slain a D-Class Level 12 Fierce Flame Leopard, earning 110 EXP. Then another alert listed 3 D-Class Level 11 Double-Headed Lions, 4 D-Class Level 12 Fierce Flame Leopards, 1 D-Class Level 13 Fire Sabertooth, and the D-Class Level 15 Hell Mammoth, with a total haul of 1,860 EXP. He also snagged 10 Fierce Bones worth 10,000 and the premium material King's Fang, a key component for crafting Inferno's Edge, an S-rank nuclear weapon. He then tucked all those treasures neatly into his inventory. He then spotted the resonant Kingstones glinting on the ground. They came as a pair with a unique function, and he figured he'd finally claimed them. The system informed Bai Yi with a casual chime that his D-Class Nuclear Warrior rank jumped to level 13, while his D-Class Cloud Element Mage hit level 11, tossing him an attribute bonus on top of that. He was wondering why the Mage class stayed D-Class when the next alert rolled in, announcing that his title, 1 against 100, had just upgraded to one-man army. Meanwhile, Yin stood frozen, speechless, as she stared at the heap of monsters sprawled in front of her. She flinched a little when Bai Yi suddenly called out to her. He pressed her lightly, asking if she remembered what he told her before. She blinked, puzzled, right as the system notified her that her E-Class Flora Element Mage had jumped up to level 7. Elsewhere, the teacher remarked that if the seal had truly broken, it would spell disaster, since no one had ever recorded such a massive energy surge before, and he scolded that someone should have stayed behind to keep watch. When his eyes landed on Ziling, he questioned sharply why he was outside instead of guarding the younger students. He cut himself off, saying there was no time for that now. They had to move fast, and Ziling pressed back, asking if the seal had really broken. He watched the teachers rush off in a frenzy toward the secret realm, and he laughed inwardly, thinking karma worked quicker than expected. At the same time, the teacher immediately called out to Bai Yi and Yin the moment they entered the secret realm. He stopped mid-breath, astonished to find both of them completely unharmed. Bai Yi demanded to know what they were all doing there. The teacher replied, asking if the seal hadn't actually broken, while another muttered if the machine messed up again and admitted he just hoped everyone was fine. On May 29th, Friday, before school wrapped up, Ziling went straight to the vice captain. He pressed him, confirming if the materials he had just submitted were enough to secure the final team slot. But the vice captain sighed and said their captain had already picked someone else. Ziling pressed harder, wanting to know who it was. He reminded him that he promised the spot would go to the most valuable member and challenged if his skill and background didn't qualify. The captain, An Li, calmly declared they had already found their most valuable person. She was a golden electro-element assassin, and she added that the kid Bai Yi was quite interesting. Later that same evening, Chen Jinwu was having dinner with Bai Lingsheng under dim lights. He, a Blue Fang-ranked divine officer, warned him not to stir up more trouble, since he had gone through serious hoops to get him released early. Bai Lingsheng assured him that of course he wouldn't. Chen Jinwu's eyes swept around sharply, scanning their surroundings like a hawk. He leaned in and whispered that Captain Hong was set to arrive next Friday, then asked if he knew what to do, to which Bai Lingsheng calmly said he shouldn't worry. Suddenly, Chen Jinwu's phone buzzed with a call from Liang. He grumbled that the old geezer was calling again, said he'd head back to the unit first, and told him to go home early. Bai Lingsheng replied that of course he would head home early. He finished his meal with that cold, murderous gleam flickering in his eyes. Bai Lingsheng was enraged when he got back to their old apartment. He demanded to know where the hell that mother and son ran off to. He smashed one of the chairs. He cursed and berated them for daring to hide from him. He vowed he would get his hands on them. He will kill them both. Meanwhile, Bai Yi identified it as the responding spirit Jade. From that point onward, Ruyan should keep it with her always. He has one exactly like it. If she is ever in danger, she should just crush that Jade, and he will sense it through his own Jade, and he will come to her right away. Without that, he would be too worried to go out alone. As he recalled, his mom never got any necklaces or jewelry. She never got any of the things a woman should have. Ruyan warned that he shouldn't just hang around his mom all weekend because at his age, he should be going out and having fun with his friends. He shrugged off that worry, insisting he doesn't really feel the need to. She demanded to know how he could not need friends, and added that he has to have people who are important to him. That made him pause for a moment. He wondered about the important people. He wondered if he would even be able to meet them in that life. At 11:58 p.m., Bai Yi stood outside a wild D-class demon lair, convinced the issue with the jade was settled anyway, so he could already focus. It was another hidden demon lair he knew about, and it only opens for a short time at midnight and closes at 1 a.m., so he doesn't have much time. He needs to focus on getting stronger already. He stepped into the demon lair. He recalled that in his past life, he had already become a top-tier warrior, but he could still only watch helplessly as his comrades died before his eyes. He charged at the high-level monsters in front of him without hesitation. The system notified him that he successfully killed the blood-devouring flower, so he gained 260 EXP and obtained the items, 3 blood petals. He figured it doesn't matter if he makes any friends. One day, God would have a whim. He charged forward to attack the other monster. He feared they would still die without a proper grave, so he must become stronger. The system notified him that he successfully killed a wild corpse orchid, so he gained 320 EXP. He kept convincing himself that he should be faster. He should be stronger than everyone else. He was straining his body so much that his eyes were turning bloodshot. The system notified him that he successfully killed 4 wild corpse orchids. So he gained 1,280 EXP and obtained the items, 6 corpse toxin. He knew he had to fight with everything he had. He was just too weak at the moment, and he couldn't even beat that man, let alone that genius who has been a golden rank archer since he was a kid. So he has no detours or shortcuts he could take. He can't avoid any enemy. Bai Yi unleashed his contingency with sharp precision. He followed it up right after with his Pure Land, letting the surge of power roll through. The system chimed in, reporting that he took down 3 blood-devouring flowers and 4 wild corpse orchids, snagging 2,060 EXP in total. A golden aura seeped from his body as the aftermath of his strikes shimmered around him. He figured the entrance to that demon lair would seal in about 20 minutes. He knew he had to finish off the Lord before that happened. On May 30th, Saturday, at 0:39, Bai Yi reached the spot where the Lord waited. He stared up with a fierce glint of resolve in his eyes. He figured it was finally that creature's turn to fall. Then he noticed the Lord spring into motion. Its speed was so sharp that it seemed to vanish from the tree branch entirely. It turned out to be the level 20 D-rank Lord, Ye Wuming. Bai Yi reacted in a flash, his blade cutting through the air. He sliced off Ye Wuming's arm just before it could strike. Ye Wuming froze briefly, glaring at its detached hand. Then it triggered its self-heal growth. Bai Yi remarked with disbelief that its recovery skill was that intense. Ye Wuming drove its freshly grown arm deep into the ground. Bai Yi tensed as vines burst upward in a writhing surge. He caught a strange energy behind him and whipped around. The monsters he had slain earlier were crawling back up to attack again. He wondered why those demonic beasts he'd already destroyed were rising once more. He figured a D-rank Lord wasn't supposed to pull off a resurrection trick like that. Out of nowhere, another Lord darted forward and lunged at him. He stiffened as sharp pain flared and blood gushed. An arm had ripped through his back and burst out his stomach. His shock deepened when he saw the attacker's face. It was another level 20 D-rank Lord, C.I. Wuming, Ye Wuming's twin brother. He demanded if there were actually 2 lords this whole time. His chest tightened in panic as his eyes darted between them. By Saturday 0:59, the demon lair entrance was shrinking fast. At 1 o'clock, it sealed completely. Later that day, by 18 o'clock, rain drenched the city in cold sheets. Ruyun figured it had been another full day, and he still hadn't returned. His messages stayed unanswered, and his phone was dead silent. He must have wandered into danger again, just like before, so she needed to go after him. Meanwhile, Bai Lingsheng strode through the downpour. He muttered about the mommy and the kid, mocking their nerve for secretly renting a place behind his back. He sneered, asking if they picked a cozy spot and taunting that they sure knew how to live it up. Murderous fury glimmered in his eyes like a blade's edge. Elsewhere, Ruyun stepped out of the building. Umbrella forgotten, she walked through the soaked streets, hunting for Bai Yi's trail. Her heart lurched in dread. A fierce, ominous lightning bolt cracked down from the heavens. Bai Yi gripped his sword tight, his chest heaving from exhaustion. He figured it was the 5th wave already and he had wiped them out, yet those damn things just kept crawling back to life. The monster lunged at him again, relentless. The system popped up to tell him that he had taken down 3 level 13 D-rank blood-devouring flowers, snagging 3 EXP in return. He figured that none of the experience or loot was registering from repeatedly slaying those resurrected freaks. He needed to track down the root of their endless regeneration. Ye Wuming and Ci Wuming came back too, like nothing happened. He figured it wasn't just those small fries capable of respawning. He kicked off into a flash step. He darted towards Ci Wuming, who swung those blade-like arms straight at him. Fatigue dragged under his eyes, but determination still burned hard there. He sliced through and slashed right across its chest. That hit landed heavy, a clean critical. He followed up with a flurry of strikes, cutting fast and sharp. He figured even those Lord-tier monsters could patch themselves up instantly. The other one was already casting that same healing trick again, but he had tried that one earlier, decapitated it even, and it just mended itself on the spot, which was absurd since it didn't only resurrect corpses, but healed its allies instantly too. Not even an S-rank healer could pull that off, so he wondered what kind of buff was juicing it up or if some hidden place was pumping out a ridiculous amount of healing energy. Ci Wuming bounced back in a blink. Bai Yi stiffened when it lunged right at him again. He snapped into parry on instinct. He redirected the blow and flung the damage back, but Ci Wuming caught it and guarded cleanly. He figured it was fascinating. Thing was learning his own tricks mid-battle. Ci Wuming flickered behind him in an instant. It remarked that he was strong. A surge of energy started funneling into it from the trees looming just behind. Bai Yi clocked that right away. Those branches were glowing, practically pulsing with power. He figured he'd just uncovered the source. It was a flower-type demon lair, and that massive tree had to be the energy core. Ci Wuming flinched the second it realized where he was heading. Bai Yi caught on that the boss's wide-range healing came straight from that monstrous tree. Ye Wuming shouted no. Bai Yi figured all he had to do was chop down those colossal trees. Then, he could finally finish them off. Bai Yi switched to Cloud Element Mage, and Ye Wuming remarked that they should stop him. He unleashed his Form Ice with sharp precision. Both Ye Wuming and Ci Wuming got encased in frost mid-motion. He swiftly switched to Nuclear Warrior with practiced ease. He drove his sword straight into Ye Wuming's chest. He declared that he was right all along. Once they, Ye Wuming, and the trees collapse, they would lose their power to heal and resurrect. The system then announced that he had successfully defeated the level 20 D-rank Lord, earned 2,500 EXP, and received the high-grade item 100 Spirit Herb. The revived monsters all began to crumble apart and hit the dirt. Suddenly, Ci Wuming shattered the ice binding him. Bai Yi remarked that only he remained standing. Ci Wuming held his gaze for a brief, heavy moment. Bai Yi blinked in surprise when he lifted his arms as if giving up. Ci Wuming declared that he should end him. Bai Yi admitted it was the first time he had met a lord like him, and pressed if he didn't wish to keep living, since his brother had fallen. He lunged toward him without hesitation. He muttered that it was fine. He would honor that wish, and the system informed him that he had successfully defeated the level 20 D-rank Lord Ci Wuming and earned another 2,500 EXP. He also obtained the high-grade material, Poison Thorn. It further announced that his D-rank Nuclear Warrior level shot up by 15, his D-rank Cloud Element Mage climbed to 13, and he gained stat bonuses. He figured that after crushing the bosses, the cave entrance must have opened again. Suddenly, the system popped up that the Cloud Element accumulation had reached full capacity, triggering a new class awakening. He wondered if the Cloud Element was max too, and what kind of class would appear this time. He remembered it was a red class before, and excitement stirred in him. The system revealed that he had unlocked the level 1 E-rank flower-type summoner. He questioned if that meant it was merely a blue class. He mused that the summoner class didn't demand high stats and got curious about its core abilities. The system then informed him he had obtained the skill Flower Spirit Contract and the passive Between the Flower Fields, letting him perceive the souls of freshly fallen flower-type monsters he could bond with. He wondered if that was some kind of dark spirit contract, and if that meant he could bind the souls of the two lords he just finished off. Glancing toward the bodies, he noticed the lingering souls of Ye Wuming and Ci Wuming. He walked closer to those drifting shapes. He activated his Flower Spirit Contract with intent. He addressed both of them firmly. He commanded that they should come to him. The two spirits reformed anew and turned into his summons. Bai Lingsheng stood before Bai Yi's new apartment, his mood sharp with impatience. Out of nowhere, his phone buzzed, and he cursed under his breath, irritated at whoever dared to bother him that late. He picked up to hear Chen Jinwu's voice, pressing if it was true that he could get into Captain Hong's party. He replied with a quick assurance, claiming he already knew and would pull every string possible to join, promising to bring a dazzling gift that would turn heads and help him regain favor in the guild. He chuckled while staring at his screen, a grin cutting across his face. He muttered that the day couldn't get any better. He figured he might as well go see his precious little sister now. On May 30th, Saturday, at 6 p.m., Ruyun stood motionless in the rain, completely thrown off. Bai Yi stepped down to her and questioned why he came out when it was pouring. He lifted his umbrella, sheltering both of them under its narrow cover. He mentioned softly that they should head home. A bit later, Ruyun regarded him as an adorable fool. He even blurted out that he was planning to go out that night to grab her a lot Mother's Day gift. She wondered wryly if he honestly believed she was clueless, just because she couldn't speak. Meanwhile, Bai Yi sprawled on his bed, lost in calculation. He figured he currently possessed 3 classes: a green warrior, a blue summoner, and a red mage. 2 of his combat classes had already climbed to D rank. Still, it wasn't nearly enough since Bai Lingsheng had gone to prison on the 21st and 10 days had passed. He would be free in 5 more, but knowing him, there was every chance he'd grease a few palms and get out sooner. That was why he'd set those preparations in motion early just to be safe. The following day, Bai Yi decided that running away wasn't going to solve a damn thing. So before heading to train, he had to put everything in order once and for all. He stepped into another demon lair. The system flashed its notice, informing him he had cleared 3 E rank and 1 D rank hidden demon lairs. By Sunday afternoon, he was deep in the forest again. He pushed himself relentlessly, knowing he couldn't afford even a breath of rest until he advanced his classes to C rank. So he charged into a D rank hidden demon lair with an undefined danger level. By Sunday evening, the system reported that the D rank hidden demon lair was conquered, his level boosted, and he swore that next time they crossed paths, he'd stand stronger. He froze when another system prompt blinked before him. It declared he had earned a new title, Lone Wolf Hero, and he wondered in confusion what that was supposed to mean. On June 1st, Monday morning at the Awakener School's middle school division, teacher Huang declared with a spark in her voice that she had a thrilling announcement for everyone. The final assessment results had just landed. Bai Yi and Qi Yin from their class snatched first and second place across the entire school. And to top it off, the recording of Bai Yi's performance got shipped straight to headquarters for a full analysis, where his score shattered every historical record. Qi Yin was struck breathless by the news. Bai Yi barely blinked, keeping cool as ever. Teacher Huang went on, saying that the 2 of them had earned their seats in the training journey, and thanks to Bai Yi's standout performance, they'd even be granted an audience with the divines. One student burst out that it was an honor even clerics could only dream of, while another chimed in that it was downright incredible. Bai Yi figured it was a nice surprise that he'd get to meet that group face to face. One of his friends tossed a grin and reminded him not to forget about the little guys back home if he ended up going big. Meanwhile, Specs sat smugly, convinced he was born to shine. Over at the dean's office, Hongchan faced his father. Hong Liang asked if he was really sure about not joining them. His dad had just returned for a visit, and tagging along to headquarters on that training journey would have been an easy excuse to go together. Hongchan's fist tightened. He replied that he wasn't going, since he'd only snagged 3rd place and hadn't earned a spot, and he refused to let anyone think he always needed his father's pull. Hong Liang gave a short nod, saying the kid had finally grown a spine, and he wished his old man could see it himself. Hongchan then admitted he needed a favor. He wanted access to the sealed D-rank demon lair in the back mountain. He was determined to grow stronger on his own. Meanwhile, Ziling stood in the principal's office, pleading with his uncle. He insisted that he had to join the training journey because he was the sole heir of the Z family. Principal Zi Yunqing reminded him that he knew full well he was the last of their bloodline, yet still behaved recklessly. He pressed him to explain why he'd pulled that stunt during the combat test. He demanded to know what possessed him to power up a demonic beast just to ambush the underclassmen. He snapped if Ziling thought the higher-ups were blind and couldn't see through his pitiful scheme. He told him bluntly that if he hadn't covered for him, he wouldn't even still be enrolled. Ziling's body trembled, fear rippling through him. He dropped to his knees. He muttered a shaky apology to his uncle. He admitted he had been wrong. Zi Yunqing ordered him to stand. Ziling stayed frozen in terror. Zi Yunqing added that his little stunt had at least drawn the higher-ups' eyes to one particular student, Bai Yi. The higher-ups sensed something unusual about him. Zi Yunqing remarked that Bai Yi's rapid growth was just freakishly unnatural, which explained why someone from the Divines had wanted to meet him personally back then. Ziling could join that training journey, but he better lose that rotten arrogance and show some damn humility, because if he stirred up any more nonsense, he wouldn't be able to bail him out again. Ziling instantly agreed. He figured Bai Yi should just wait until the training journey rolled around, and Anli too. He planned to make her his sooner or later. By Monday afternoon, right before school ended, Bai Yi's friend leaned over and wondered if that letter was from the Ultimate Club. The letter politely invited Bai Yi to join and told him to stop by the club office to register if he felt like it. His friend explained that it was the toughest, most elite club in their entire school, and asked if he was right that joining meant skipping the Guild of the Gods entrance exam altogether. He went on about how the club was founded by their only gold rank assassin in years. People used to claw their way through fights just for a chance to apply, and now Bai Yi got a direct invitation, so he blurted out whether that wasn't supposed to be a high school club and if they were seriously inviting a middle schooler. He gushed that Bai Yi was too damn incredible and that he was about to cry from pride. Everyone froze when Bai Yi snatched the letter from him. He walked straight toward the trash bin. Then he tossed it in. His friend stared and pressed if he was actually rejecting it, while some student barked that he must be out of his mind. He simply replied that he was leaving. Everyone stood there dumbfounded. His friend swore under his breath, calling it a golden chance gone to waste. Specs muttered that they didn't really understand Bai Yi at all and turned to ask if he did. He replied that Bai Yi wasn't the kind to follow anyone, and the way he carried himself now, he was only ever going to be a leader. Meanwhile, Bai Yi headed toward the mountain behind the school. Hongchan mentioned that he'd gotten clearance for the D-rank demon layers, and that no one went near that place after dark. He suggested they should dive in. Bai Yi mulled it over. He pointed out that a D-rank demon lair was way out of Hongchan's league, so they ought to start smaller, but Hongchan snapped that he should stop spouting nonsense, because he wouldn't be a burden. Bai Yi recalled that he'd promised to teach him practical combat methods and fast ways to grow stronger, with the deal being that Hongchan would secure him access to the school's demon lairs. He hadn't expected the guy to unlock every D-rank one in existence. He had already finished off the monster he was fighting by the time Hongchan hit the ground and struggled to breathe. Bai Yi asked if he needed a hand, but Hongchan growled for him to get lost, insisting he could handle it himself. Bai Yi simply watched while Hongchan barreled toward the rampaging monster, his stance brimming with reckless confidence. He figured he still hadn't hit the conditions to unlock the Tower of the Brave, so stepping in was off limits. The system reminded him again that he needed to hit B rank in a class first. He turned his gaze to the monsters lurking behind him, sizing them up like a bored hunter running out of prey. He figured he'd wiped out nearly every wild demon lair around, which meant the ones at school were his only ticket for grinding levels for now. Tuesday after school rolled in, and more club invitations met their fate in the trash. Bai Yi mused that the higher the class rank, the tougher it got to level, and after hitting D rank, the climb had turned painfully slow. By Wednesday after school, a beast lunged at Hongchan, jaws wide, ready to swallow him whole. Bai Yi darted in, planting a solid kick that hurled the monster away before it could bite down. Hongchan barked out a curse, snapping that he'd told him not to butt in, but Bai Yi shot back that without him, he'd already be Monster Chow. He figured at least there were plenty of beasts around, meaning plenty of EXP. Thursday after school, while leaving the demon lair, Hongchan swore again, crowing that he finally hit D rank, and bragged that solo runs were way more fun than being babysat by those dumb bodyguards at home. While he strutted on, Bai Yi trailed behind in silence. He figured his warrior class had finally reached C rank. His stats should now be enough to face Bai Sheng, and the system pinged to inform him he'd picked up a new skill. That night at home, Ruyan poked at him, asking if he'd gone on a date with a cute girl recently. Bai Yi replied there was no chance, since he was just a middle schooler. She pressed if he'd been fooling around with friends every night to be coming home so late, and he swore he wasn't. She remarked that liking someone was totally normal, and that if he did, he should have the guts to chase her. He shouldn't wait until regret was all that's left. Bai Yi's mind drifted to a girl who mattered to him. He remembered Ann Lee. She had told him to give her a hug. He had refused, brushing it off. He remembered when they fought monsters together. She had said they won again. He had told her they should leave. She had teased him to carry her. He had told her to have Hui Luo heal her up first before moving, and she had pouted that he was cruel. He then relived the moment she died back then. Rage had consumed him at the time. Now, in the present, he recalled that he'd only met An Li in his previous life after his master saved him from death row. He'd met her in the capital of the Holy He Kingdom. He had no clue where she might be now, and this time around, Crossing paths again would be nearly impossible. In this life, only he remembered the past, so even if they met, they'd be strangers. Meanwhile, the vice captain sent Unli a message saying Bai Yi still hadn't replied, so he probably wasn't interested in their club. Unli let out a quiet laugh as she read it. She remarked that he was becoming more intriguing by the day. She decided she'd meet him herself the next day and hand him the invitation in person. Friday rolled around as Bai Yi's birthday, and he froze in disbelief at the gift Ruyun handed over. She mentioned that it was his birthday present. He figured that must be what it was. He peeled the box open with careful hands. A scarf sat neatly inside. There was also a letter from her wishing him happiness and the guts to live the life he wanted, though he couldn't help wondering why a scarf when summer was almost here. Then a sharp realization hit him. He went to ask his mother if she knew he was heading for the Holy He Kingdom. She told him that the temperature there flipped between blazing days and cold nights. So he needed to take care of himself, and she'd do the same. He realized she'd known all along what he was planning. She then mentioned that since it was his birthday, he should treat his best friends to a meal. He reminded her that he'd already told her he didn't have any friends. Moments later, Bai Yi arrived at school. A glittery action figure was parked right on his desk. He blinked, not sure what to make of it. His friend chimed in, asking how he liked his birthday gift and pointing out it was his favorite model, a flashy one, and Bai Yi thanked him. Specs snorted that it was tacky and told him to check his out instead. It wasn't easy to snag one of those lately. Bai Yi went stiff. He realized it was the soundtrack to his favorite movie, The Prestige. In his past life, he used to sneak away with him to the sheds to secretly watch banned prehistoric films. Specs warned him not to let the teacher spot that, so he'd better stash it well. Bai Yi stuffed it into his desk in a hurry. Then he gave another round of thanks. Specs exhaled in satisfaction. Out of nowhere, Chi Yin called out to Bai Yi. She wished him a happy birthday. Specs and the other friend both gawked. The friend asked if that shiny item was an A-rank weapon. It turned out to be an A-rank mage weapon, the transmutation gem. Bai Yi's stomach dropped when he saw it. He immediately refused, saying it was way too valuable. Chi Yin replied that if it hadn't been for him, she couldn't have gone on the training journey. She added that it wasn't that special since her family owned plenty, and it would really help him right now. He admitted to himself she was right. He needed strength, so he had no excuse to turn it down. He guessed she'd seen him using that lowest grade mage weapon when he switched classes and realized she'd been surprisingly considerate. He couldn't believe they'd all remembered his birthday and even gone to such lengths to pick thoughtful gifts when he'd been ready to just leave everything behind. Specs grumbled, wondering since when those two got so chummy, while the other friend teased that he thought Bai Yi wasn't into women. Chi Yin cut in sharply, demanding what they were mumbling about. Bai Yi figured he shouldn't get tangled with them and couldn't afford attachments, but he still mentioned that they should grab dinner that night. It was on him, and he asked if they were free. Specs mentioned that, obviously, and the other friend jumped in to ask if he could pick the place. Then one of their classmates piped up, wondering if those guys weren't from high school and what they were even doing there. Another chimed in that it looked like they were heading toward their class, and someone else added if they didn't know that the captain of the elite school squad was around. He commented that he heard the captain was coming to personally invite Bai Yi to join, and as another pressed if that was really happening, someone else tossed in that they'd never seen the captain, while another bragged that he'd heard from some people that she was a total knockout. Bai Yi remarked that it seemed like it was better to refuse face to face. His friends figured it was time for another good show. Because of the gossip, a bunch of students crowded near Bai Yi's classroom hoping to catch the captain. Ziling showed up too. He wondered if that cocky brat Bai Yi was actually worth all the fuss and found the whole thing sickening. He stayed silent in the crowd with the others as Bai Yi stepped out of the classroom. He scanned around trying to spot where the captain was. Suddenly, electricity crackled from the hallway lights. The students started yelling, confused about what was going on. Bai Yi tensed up immediately. The current raced through the entire hallway. Then a fierce beam of light shot straight at him from the front. He just froze there. Meanwhile, the others were knocked back by the force. He figured it was a fake-out. He whipped out his sword in an instant. He fixed his gaze forward, every muscle primed for a fight. He stayed composed, feeling the surge of power closing in on him. He realized it was shifting toward his left rear. He pivoted fast and blocked the strike with his sword. One student blurted what happened, while another gasped that it was too fast. He lay grinned. Bai Yi suddenly spotted someone. He swung his sword again and pushed her back. She remarked that his reflexes were crazy fast, so she definitely hadn't picked the wrong person. He was stunned the moment he recognized her. Bai Yi recalled the time when Hei Lei called out to him, telling him he ought to give her a hug with that teasing lilt she always used. There was another time when she asked him if he could carry her down, the request half playful and half expectant. And another one came to mind when she asked him if he could carry her again, her voice dipping with that same mix of mischief and warmth. He told her she should let Huiluo patch up her wounds first so she could walk, and she fired back that he was just being cruel. Now, in the present, Hei Lei mentioned that they had sent him countless invitations without getting a single reply, so she figured she might as well come and visit herself. Meanwhile, Specs and the other friend hovered behind Bai Yi, eyes gleaming with nosy curiosity. The friend pressed him, wondering if he really planned to turn her down face to face, muttering that it was mortifying. At the same time, Hei Lei greeted Bai Yi and mentioned that he should let her make a proper introduction. But before she could even say her name, he dashed up to her. She blinked in confusion when he suddenly wrapped his arms around her. Qian stiffened in shock. Ziling looked ready to explode. Hei Lei froze for a beat when Bai Yi called her name. He remarked that it had been ages since they'd last seen each other. Everyone around them went rigid, staring at the sight of him hugging Hei Lei in plain view. Hei Lei stood speechless, though she looked far less startled than anyone else up there. Bai Yi's friend cursed under his breath, exclaiming that this was scandalous gold because he had actually hugged her in front of everyone. And he joked that maybe it was a live-action older woman, younger man drama breaking social rules. Specs cut in and clarified that she wasn't really older since she had been in their grade. But after awakening early in junior high, she'd skipped straight into high school ahead of them. Qi Yin, on the other hand, was still frozen stiff with her jaw hanging. Without warning, Hei Lei activated her skill, her body scattering into streaks of lightning. Bai Yi flinched in surprise when she reappeared behind him almost instantly. She poked him lightly on the back, sparking playfulness in her tone. She asked if his hug meant he was accepting her invitation. She mentioned that the elite school squad was fully funded and packed with the best gear, offering faster ways to grow stronger than just slogging through dungeons after class. And she added that they all shared the same goal. Maybe they could fight side by side someday. He snapped back to awareness. He stated that he wouldn't be joining the elite school squad and wouldn't be staying long either, so joining a club made no sense. He then lifted his hand for a handshake. He declared that he'd be forming his own guild soon. When that happened, he said, they'd have their chance to fight together. Just then, the vice captain approached Hei Lei and questioned what she was doing there. He added that Captain Hong had returned to campus and the principal wanted the entire squad to go welcome him. She replied that they'd meet again soon during the training pilgrimage. They could have a proper chat then, she noted. And it would be about why he had said, "Long time no see." Bai Yi watched silently as she left. Ziling, meanwhile, burned with fury, her glare sharp enough to cut. The students whispered among themselves, one saying that he'd turned down a personal invitation from the elite school squad captain and even invited her to join his own guild instead. Another scoffed, questioning how he could even start one. Someone else pointed out that he wasn't an adult yet, and guilds cost a fortune to establish. Another sneered that he was all talk, but one more chimed in, saying he'd heard Bai Yi scored the highest in junior high history. Another murmured that what made it crazier was how he'd hugged the captain, and she hadn't even pushed him away. Bai Yi, on the other hand, mulled over how meeting Hei Lei like this was something he'd never seen coming. Everyone in the Divine Guild kept their past lives locked tight, so no one ever pried into each other's stories. So he never would have guessed that she had attended the same middle school as him, nearly making him miss that fateful reunion. He figured it had to be a birthday surprise.